Hey, what's up? What's up, guys? Hopefully this works good. I'm now in the other room, and this room is directly wired, so I got a hard wire. I should have like super good internet in here, so I don't know why the live quality would not be good unless it's YouTube. But we'll see how it goes with some hangout and talks. So start asking your questions over there. We'll get going. Hey, what's up? I'll say Gomez. Is it Jotty Gomez? Got this right here, man. Chap lips. I always do that. I just peel my skin off and it fucks my lips up. Hey, morning, Daniel. I'll call you Pith. Is that Pithed Stoner? Hey, what's up, 301? Yeah, so let's go and get started. Start asking some questions, guys. I'm doing good. Got all my art shit there in the background. All right, quick question. Go ahead, Daniel. Can you guys hear me okay? I could turn off my AC. Because right now it's just on fan mode anyway. It's probably making a lot of noise. I know it helps. Tell me if this helps. Ready? AC is going off right now. Now it's off. Is that better? Is that a little bit less background noise? No, I don't smoke weed. I can't. I was able to smoke CBD weed, but it doesn't really do much. So for a little bit it did, and then I just gave up on it because it didn't help anything. I need to get a mustache. What is it called? Brush. So Max Shield should be back in stock. I'm trying to get them ready by the 3rd. I was hoping to have them ready by the 27th. That was the goal, but holidays and stuff made it more difficult. But they should be ready by the 3rd. I'm giving myself some leeway there. Might be ready sooner. Yeah, Christmas was good. Hope everyone else had a good holiday and had a happy Christmas and got some cool ass shit for Christmas. Maybe got a cool ass fucking new bong or something dope. So Andrew, yeah, go ahead and ask about cutting fan leaves. And then let's see, our top of the morning. What's it mean when plants are drooping and look like they're dying but still look green? It could be overwatering, Daniel. So check that. It'd help if I knew what medium you're growing in. And yeah, so how old are the plants and what medium are you growing in? So for deep water culture autos, Mr. Flag, the best nutrients. I mean, there's really no best nutrients. Psychoflower is awesome for everything, honestly. It's super high quality, very, very chelated, meaning that it's mostly amino acids and not so much whole salts. So the molecules are smaller, meaning that the plants uptake it easier. So I highly recommend Psychoflower. You can buy it on Amazon if they don't have it in your local store. And it's actually a really good price on Amazon. So that's how I buy it. Any tips for first grow? Bloodbath first grow tips would be go to my channel and check out my free grow course. And I'm trying to work on my book. So like instead of going live, I should be writing my book right now, but I'll be coming out with that. I still don't know what I'm going to title it yet, but I'm debating still whether or not I want to focus it mostly on autoflowers or if I want to try just make it a general grow guide for both photos and autos. So you lost heat for 24 hours in fan? Okay, Daniel. I'm still scrolling down to see if you told me what medium you're growing in and stuff. Let's see here. An updated grow chart on the website. I'm not sure yet, Demario. It's pretty much that's what I do, so that's why I kept it the same. But I probably should rewrite some stuff. But that's what I do. So let's see here. Gotcha. Things can use my minis as side lighting. Yeah, definitely. Minis are strong. Like they still have to be 2 feet away from the plant. I mean, you can get them within 18 inches much easier, but you don't want to really get it any closer than that. I noticed most strains came to handle the mini at 15 inches. They're just really powerful lights. I notice a lot of people are putting the minis really close because they're used to growing with shitty lights and shitty LEDs. They can pretty much touch your light or touch your plant and not burn it. Then they use my mini and they're like, why is my plant not growing? Because they have it like 15 inches away or so, or even 8 inches away from their plant. I'm like, that's why your plant can't handle that super light, man. You got to back it off. Let's see here. I just bought 10 clones and planted them in pure coco from day one of veg. How often should I be watering them? I water them every day, but when they're very young like that for the first 10 days or so, until they develop a root system, just water it with a very little bit of water. You just want it just enough to keep the rock wool from drying out. Because if the rock wool dries out, your root will dry up and die. So stripping the fan leaves is not right. No, you can strip fan leaves. I just strip fan leaves, especially a photo period. I always strip my fan leaves on photo period, all the bottom ones at least. So let's say this is your tree, right? And you have your different leaves coming off of it, and you have your different nodes, and then you have the top bud, right? The main leaves that are important are the leaves that are next to that bud. So keep those fan leaves, the ones that are next to the bud. All the other leaves on that stem could be stripped down from, like, here's your bud. So from here all the way down could be stripped off. You don't need none of those leaves or any of those little side branches, or they're not necessary. But in autoflowers, you got to be really careful with what you pick off because you don't want to stress it out too much. Let's see here. Hey, what's up, Crackling? Let's see. Maybe you can use the ins and outs of growing weed. That's kind of cool. I like that. The ins and outs of growing marijuana. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm still, like I said, I'm still debating whether or not I want to focus it on just autoflowers or if I want to focus it on both. But also, it's really going to be my grow system, so I'm not going to go all general with it. So I'm not going Jorge Cervantes with it. So I'm not going to discuss soil growing in this book. It's going to be solely focused on cocoa growing. That is solely my system. I might cover hempy grow in there as well because I love hempy growing also because it's very similar to my grow system. I kind of do the exact same thing. There's a couple little things I do different, but well, obviously the best LED on the market is going to be my LED. Honestly, if I didn't have my LEDs, I don't know if I would even grow with LED. I would just make my own. So I mean, either way, it'd be my LED. Just no one out there does my spectrum, and so that's why I would do my own LED. And also, I've noticed a lot of LEDs, they don't take advantage of using double lens technology. You can do a lot with double lens technology. It actually enhances the light tremendously. I notice people are growing with cobs. Like I've seen a lot of people do custom LEDs, and they just grow with straight cobs, which is fine, but you want to add some color in there anyway. They just do straight cobs, and then they have no lens on there at all. Not even a reflective lens inside. It's literally just a cob by itself. That is not very powerful. You're wasting so much of its potential. It's like, imagine you have a cob flashlight, right? Well, a cob flashlight sits inside of a reflective dome, right? So it has the dome that reflects and spreads all the light out. Then it has a lens on top of that sometimes. But without that, the flashlight's useless. Go buy a cob flashlight and take out that center dome, that reflective dish. Pull that out of the flashlight and tell me how good the flashlight is. Not very good. So it's super important to, at the very least, have that reflective dome. And I can't believe so many cobs that people build them, they just have the cob just sitting there as if that's going to do much. Yeah, you definitely need that reflective dome. And then having the proper lens with the proper double lens technology. And with a cob, it's just really usually just one lens, but the double lens, meaning the inside lens and the outside bubble lens. And those two together with the right angles make the best light. But I don't talk about exactly what my lenses are because that's what make my light. That's one thing that makes my lights unique. Nonetheless, make sure to have 3000K cobs and then add deep blue, deep red, 660 red, and 430 or so blue. And then that's all you need. You're good to go. I tried hempy with 100% cocoa. I didn't like it as much as the perlite. But you can do like half and half. I just make sure, I would recommend using perlite only in the bottom. So if you're going to do, let's say you do half cocoa, half, or even if you're just doing all cocoa, I recommend the very first 2 inches or 3 inches being pure perlite. That's where your reservoir is. I don't recommend having cocoa where water is sitting straight into cocoa. That can actually drown your roots. Being in straight water is better than being in 100% saturated. Like if you were just take a bucket with no holes in it and put cocoa in there and put water at the bottom, that's worse than if you just had pure water. Let me see. Let me go. Can we catch up on here? Let's see here. Flash Farm. Love your door star. Thank you. 1 book each. Photoperiod. Yeah, that's something I'm thinking about doing. 2 books. One specifically for growing autoflowers, or maybe one just specifically for growing in my cocoa hempy system. And it can be because you can do it for both regulars and photos, and then I can share my different knowledge, but about each one, different tricks and stuff I do. Or maybe I'll just I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I guess I'll decide when I start writing it. No, I don't have. Well, actually, I have, my mini is 245. So there's that one, and the mini will actually go. It can grow up to 6 ounces. Well, I shouldn't say that because the highest anyone's ever gotten so far has been 5.7, I think, ounces. So pretty close to 6. You can definitely get 5 off it. I've done it with one light, and a couple other guys have done it with 2 plants. One light, I meant one plant. Other people have done it with 2 plants and 3 plants. No, I've heard a lot about the quantum board, but again, the problem with the quantum board is they don't take advantage of double lens technology. So you lose. Like I know it has great rating as far as the joules per watt, but that's quite useless in growing. I'll tell you why in a second. The seeds will be fine to plant because most likely if it produced seeds, it means it seeded itself, so they're going to be feminized. It means it probably grew a male part, and so they're going to be feminized seeds, and you can grow them William Roach. But what I recommend, they're going to be funky though, most likely. That is, you'll have some that have really weird growth. They're not going to be super stable, but they should be about 75% stable. So depending on what the original seed company, how stable the original seed company was. Let's see here. Hello, Hillbilly Hydro Grower, and you're in a 3x3, Daniel. I don't know if I caught up on you, Daniel, on what you're growing in, whether you're growing in soil or coco, and how often are you watering? Yeah, you can definitely get you can definitely get 6 ounces off the mini. I just haven't done it yet because I've only grown with it like once, I think, twice maybe. Like an actual dedicated mini grow. I need to do another dedicated mini grow. I really want to show what that light can do. I haven't grown Venom OG, no, but a lot of OGs are just good anyway. OGs are really good strain. They're not very big yielders, but they're nice marijuana. Okay, so really quickly about the light. So a lot of people, when they're looking at lights, they look at between the watts converted to joules. So it's the Ummel's joules thing. They're like, oh, look at my light's got 2.6 at the chip, as if that means anything. That doesn't mean anything if the light doesn't produce at the surface of the plant area, if it doesn't have penetration, right? I'll give a good example. I can use a chip that has 2.8 watts at the chip. They sell them. They sell them right now from Cree. So I can buy a Cree chip and it's got 2.6 watts at the chip, meaning that that's the conversion ratio from the amount of watts per joules used. That's actually really high. The maximal potential is like 4.6 or something like that. No one's got anywhere close to that, but that's the maximum potential. That's how much light's being converted to energy is being converted to actual light. Anyway, so I can build a flashlight right now that has a joule ratio of 2.6 at the chip and coming out 2.4, 2.5 coming out of the light in a Dyson sphere. Or not a Dyson sphere, some freaking alien shit in my brain. I meant the photosynthesis sphere, which tests the actual amount of joules that the light's actually putting out outside of the light, not at the chip. That's a rather useless measurement too, but nonetheless, I go look at I've got a conversion ratio coming outside of my flashlight at 2.6 or 2.5, whatever. It's really high, right? Sounds like my flashlight should grow great marijuana based on those numbers. And by the way, I have a flashlight that does that. But you take that flashlight and try to grow a plant with it, and you can't. Why? Because it doesn't have the penetration power, or it doesn't have the spread, right? So you're only getting like at the from a foot away from your plant, you're only getting, let's say, 200 par. That's not going to grow much of anything. And then at that 4 feet away, you're getting like 90 par. Good luck growing a plant with that flashlight. So the point is that when you're buying a light, any of that shit is useless. That's useless information. And the reason why they're harping on that information is because they know their light sucks in every other area. That isn't the actual grow functionality of the light. So anyway, just wanted to. I just see this a lot right now, and it's just ridiculous that people are buying into stupid hype. So just keep in mind that those numbers are meaningless. What they want to give you is the average par of the light. That is, take the light, put it at its max or at its optimal growing distance, minus 2 feet away, and then take 17 points of measurement at 2 feet away and the maximal space that it covers. So if it covers 4x4 at 2 feet away, they need to do 17 points of measurement covering that entire 4x4 area, and then divide that by 17, and that's going to give you your average par. A 1,000 watt HPS, standard HPS from Hortilux, from 2 feet away, which is optimal growing height for a 4x4 area, has an average par of almost 600. It's like 575, 585. If you're not getting a right around that, don't expect to get the yield of a 1,000 watt HPS. It's not going to. That is a mathematical number that will predict almost exactly what your light is capable of, and I've shown it to be true over and over again with any kind of light. So yeah, and obviously, so where LED takes advantage of that is 1,000 watt uses 1,000 watts to have an average par for 4x4 of what a 575, 585, whereas my max yield has like 645 or something like that, so much higher, and it uses less electricity, only 630 watts. So the closer you can get your watts to your average par, then you're really making good use of your watts. So if you're using 645 watts and you're pulling an average par of 645, that's 1-to-1 ratio. That's awesome. That's like super good. I'm going to show. Sorry, I don't know why it didn't show that, Danny. I went in and approved it. All right, let me go and catch up here real quick and see if I miss anything good. So soil and once every 2 to 3 days. That might be a problem, Daniel. It sounds like you're overwatering. Make sure your soil completely dries out. You want the pot to be very light before you water again. Thoughts on cloning? What exactly about cloning do you want thoughts on? There's not a whole lot to talk about, but you can't clone autos. I mean, you can, but they're going to be the same genetic age as the mother, so it's kind of pointless. Let's see here. 3-gallon fabric pots. Who has the best cheap seeds? That I'm not sure, William Roach, but check out GYO Seeds. They allow you to purchase with just a credit card. A lot of the seed companies now, you have to purchase with cryptocurrency. Either that or you have to send in cash and wait for it, or money order. And yeah, so a lot of people don't do credit cards anymore. And GYO Seeds has all the seed companies on there. Like any seed company, just about you can imagine, they sell it. Whether it's Mephisto, Dutch Passion, Greenhouse Seeds. Greenhouse Seeds, by the way, are the Crop King guys. They're the guys that do the show Strain Hunters. They actually have some really, really nice strains. Yeah, Spectrum King shit. They don't have good spread at all. Decent penetration, but not good spread. And the light spectrum isn't the best either. Let's see here. So William Roach, I think the best light you can build for yourself, which is really easy to do, is using a mix between 30-watt cobs and 10-watt cobs. So for the 30-watt cobs, you want those to be 3000K, so 3000K white cobs, and then for your 10-watt cobs, have them be a mix of pretty much half and half. You can lean more towards red if you want to. So use the 660 nanometers for the red and the 430 for the blue. You can maybe go 460 even, and that's all you need right there. So yeah, mostly the 30-watt cobs, mostly the white, and then a little bit of 10-watt cobs to add that color in there, because you want that deep red and deep blue. And no full spectrum LED has enough blue and red in it, so you need to supplement it with blue and red. You can also do 3-watt high penetration diodes, so like Cree XTE, but make sure the Cree XTEs you put double lenses on them, so that way you want the secondary lens on there. But as far as building it yourself, and then you want to put like make sure to buy if you use cobs, buy housing that has the I forget what they're called, the actual bowl that it sits inside of that reflects out. At least have one of those on there. Yeah, Gorilla Seeds is pretty cool. I've used Gorilla Seeds before for collection purposes only, because you can't legally get seeds and grow them. So you have to speak correctly. Pugnant strain I've ever grown. Probably, that's hard to say right now. Probably something with a skunk mother or something in there. Incredible Bulk was pretty pungent by the actual photo period by Dr. Crippling. I really like that one. There's one particular I grew by them that just really strong smell to it. I'm sure there's others too. I just can't think of any right now, top of my head. White Widow was really pungent too. No, water cocoa every day. Don't let cocoa get light. That's for your funeral at your funeral. So yes, water every day, and make sure it stays somewhat moist. You don't want it to dry out. If the top dries out, then you need to water more. Let's see here. All right, see you later, Justin. Yeah, cheeses. There's some good cheese strains out there that can smell really strong. So, John, my favorite autoflower is definitely going to be Colorado Cookies by Dutch Passion. I love it. Everything about it's awesome. My wife loves how it tastes, how it smokes, the kind of high it gives. It's got bag appeal. It's got nice, cool buds. It grows very well. The only thing about it I don't like is it's kind of leafy, but other than that, it's like the perfect plant. Yeah, she might surpass me in growing. That'd be awesome. But she's very, very reliant on my knowledge still right now. So I think it'll be several grows from now before she doesn't have to ask me questions anymore. And to become a plant doctor, that's something that I think is a natural talent. You either have the brain for being a plant doctor or you don't. It's just a certain you could either feel the plant out or you're not very good at it. But yeah, I've noticed that there's some people that are really good growers, but they're not the best plant doctors. So if something actually goes wrong with their plant, they're not good at figuring out what it is or what steps to take and stuff. But I'm trying to teach her how to do all that. Yeah, I've grown Durban poison. I haven't grown the photoperiod, but I did grow the autoflower version of Durban poison, I believe by Dutch Passion. So, weed the people. That's a good question. How long to let trichomes go? So personally, I like to let the trichomes go until I can see about 30% discolored. So I don't call it amber anymore because not all strains look amber. And besides, a lot of times with a loop, and depends what light you have under, what light you're using with the loop, they won't look amber anyway. They'll look kind of like nicotine stained color, almost like a rusty color or like kind of a brownish orange, sometimes yellow. So all I'm looking for, I don't even care about clear versus cloudy, because if you have 20% discoloration, then you have the right amount of cloudy. You don't have to worry about it. So all I look for is 20 to 30% discolored trichomes. That's all I look for because that's really easy to spot with a loop. All you need is like a 30 to 60 times magnification loop, and you can see that really easily with your eye. Are you try CO2 bottle? Hold on, I missed that one. CO2 bottle enhanced BNP neutrals 46 by 810. I haven't tried any of the. I remember I tried this like grow bag thing that used some kind of weird mushroom that's supposed to produce CO2. Didn't work worth shit. I noticed a lot of these bags you can buy, or even bottles that have the certain special cap on it, that they are probably using some sort of chemical thing like vinegar and baking soda, but maybe they call it something else. And I've noticed that those don't last very long. So for a small area, they will give you CO2, but you're going to be spending a lot more money on the refills than you would be on refills for CO2 tank. So yeah, the initial cost of the CO2 tank and regulator is more expensive, but within a year, it'll pay for itself, and then you'll be getting a lot cheaper CO2. So I highly recommend, if you can, to invest in a CO2 tank. Way cheaper than using anything else. There's nothing else that beats it. But if you have to use those, just know you're going to spend more money in the long run. But within a year, you're going to spend more money on refills. Um, William Roach, I personally wouldn't. I know what light you're talking about. There's a lot of companies now pushing this new photo boost strip, full color spectrums. They have Cree built into them, which is a good Cree LED, by the way. I think they used XTE. Samsung builds one, and they're really easy to build your own lights with. I like that about them. They make it very easy to structure your own light. You can build nice bar lights with them. The problem with any lights you can build with those is they're not going to have good penetration because they're just almost like open LEDs. Without a secondary lens, it doesn't really reflect the light right. So that's the problem, is if you build a bar light with them, like spider type design, you're not going to get deep penetration. You'll get nice surface coverage, Now you have to light really close to your plants, and you'll get good surface coverage, but you're not gonna have good penetration. It is better penetration than, let's say, a T5 or something like that. But so you have to keep your plants really short in order to optimize that light. I mean, it is something you can grow with. It's not like it's, but honestly, the amount of electricity you're using, a 600 watt, for example, take any 600 watt using photo boost strips, and my cob will blow it away without no competition there as far as the average par per volume. It's just, yeah, you can get way bigger yields out of my cob than you ever could out of something like that. But it's something to start with, like I don't discourage anything as long as you can grow marijuana with it. I mean, you can even use CFLs if you wanted to. Just know that you're wasting a lot of electricity for the area you're growing in, when you could be getting bigger yields by using something like my Cop Light, which is only $800 right now. What do I really think about it, and what really? So what I really like about Laughing Buddha is it's got decent yields. It's not the biggest yielder, but it's got decent yields. The quality of the smoke is super. It's really high up there, really nice high, like one of the best highs, really happy high. It has some, I think it has some land race Thailand bud in there, and that Thailand very happy euphoric high comes through very strongly. It's got super good flavor. Bag appeal is amazing. So yeah, it's really good. It's won awards. So yeah, and for a reason. Okay, let's see here. Um, Trying to catch up to you guys. Hold on. So I would supplement both red and blue. A lot of people forget the blue. Blue is super important. So you can use twice as much red as blue. So that your main LED should be like a 3000 K white LED, full spectrum white LED, and then supplement that with red and then with blue too. Usually you can use like twice as much red as blue. So if you have 10 red LEDs, then use like 5 to 7 blue LEDs. The reds are going to be like 660 to 630. I recommend 660. And then your blues are going to be like 430. You can also use 460. Am I legal to grow? Yeah, I live in Oregon. We're fully recreational here. If you move to Oregon, you can grow right away. You don't even need a driver's license. All you have to have is an address in Oregon. You can legally grow here. You can grow up to 4 plants in your household without any license or anything. If you have a medical license, you can grow 6 plants for your patient plus your 4 plants for somebody else in the household. But if you're the grower for the 6 plants medically, then somebody else has to grow the 4 plants under the same household. So you can grow 10 plants in the same household, and you can actually have 2 patients now. That's they lowered it down from 4 to 2, so you can have 12, depending on your if whether or not your land is considered residential or not. They made it really hard for medical growers, but you can grow up to 12 plants medically, depending on where your property is located. And then if you get a bigger license, you can grow full warehouses, hundreds and hundreds of plants. But you have to apply for your commercial growing license. Basically, there's different tiers you can get, and yeah, you can basically legally grow warehouses full of marijuana. Hundreds and hundreds of plants. Let's see here. What's the largest cob light you have? You mean like the largest cob I use in a light? The largest I use is 75 watt. But you can build one with 100 watts or even 150 watts. It's just at that point you're kind of wasting electricity, because it's better to have like 75 watt or even 100 watt cobs distributed evenly on in one light's fixture, rather than having a couple 100 watts. Just works better. It's just something I had to mess around with. I'm like Thomas Edison. I have to actually build it and then try it and then do the testing and see, does it have a higher average par? And if it doesn't, then I know it's not working as good. Yeah, World Queen Seeds is a really nice seed company. Yeah, Canada went legal everywhere. So like Oregon and Canada are very similar, but we're state by state still. So we haven't, like, our full country hasn't gone on board yet. But there are certain states where, like California and Oregon, for example, it is fully recreational. You can just grow. Let's see here. Flush with pure water lasts 10 days before harvest, less coughing. I found that that's not necessary in cocoa. So if you're growing hydroponically, all you have to do is flush your plant. So whatever medium you're growing in, That's hydroponic. So if you're in cocoa, just flush the cocoa until there's no more nutrients in it. So just put a lot of water through it at once, and then just feed it water for 3 days. Boom, it's good. It's gonna be the smoothest weed than any other weed you ever had, and the plant never yellows because it's only 3 days, and it works just as good. I've tried 2 weeks. I tried all different kinds of days, and I found that works just as good. So it's like why, and also by going like if you're in soil, yeah, you have to go like 10 days because you can't water it. You can't do what you can with cocoa. So it's harder to get the nutrients out of the soil fast enough without causing a lot of stress to the plant. But if you're in cocoa or something like that, yeah, just do a flash flush and then water with water for 3 days, and it's come out super smooth. But I forgot what my point was about the other thing. Oh yeah, so if you go a long time though, you take away from the last, because in its last 2 weeks of life, it puts on a lot of weight, and sometimes your buds can double in size. So that's like when it's really packed. So why would you not be feeding it, PK booster and stuff during that time where it really needs that food because it's doubling in size, it's going through a growth spurt, and by cutting it off 2 weeks, let's say, with nutrients and starting to cut those nutrients back, you're depleting the plant of its full potential. And so that's why I like cocoa, is that you can push it all the way to the end and then do a flash flush and then 3 days water. You let the plant fully finish. It got all the nutrients it needed to really bulk up at the very end, and then you still get really nice smooth marijuana in the end. So tips for autopot system: make sure that make sure the reservoir is pH balance before you start watering with it. That's the main recommendation. So it usually takes 3 days or so to regulate the pH of anything. So you put your RO water in there or whatever water you're using in there, and you put your nutrients in there, and then you pH it to 5.8. The next day it's like 6.3. You pH it again. Now it's like 6. Next day it's 6.0. You pH it again. Now it's staying pretty regular. It will stay at between 5.8 and 6.0 for several days. Excuse me. That's what you want. So you kind of don't want it to be watering before that. So if there's any way you can water by hand or something until then, I recommend that. Because what happens is that the water that sits in the bottom of that tray in the autopot system, you'll notice its pH is much higher. I found the best thing for autopots is using a type of mixture between cocoa and soil, or in the very minimum, putting garden lime in your cocoa to help balance out the pH, because it's really hard to keep the pH in those little reservoirs. Or use something like advanced nutrients. They're pH perfect, something like that, and it would work good. I personally don't like the autopot system. I thought I would like it, but I didn't like it. I ended up converting it to a drip system. Now I build my own drip system. It's much easier, and it's actually way cheaper. Like I can build you a drip system. I won't do it, but I've shown you how to build a drip system on my website on my free course. But the drip system I build is so inexpensive. You buy a pump for like $60, a really good one, 1,200 gallon per hour pump. You buy some 1/4 inch tubing, some 3/4 inch tubing, and then the reservoir, so a drum from Wilco, which is like $50, $30, depends on whether it's on sale. Then you need a smaller pump, which is I don't know, 20, $30. Just a little small pump, a little 200 gallon per hour pump or so. That's just to circulate the water. And a couple of T connections. That's it. Anyway, it's under $200 altogether. So for $200, you build an awesome drip system, and you can use whatever pots you want with it. Let's see here. I'd love to show you blah blah blah. Let's see here. Sorry, we're trying to catch up again. Let's see here. Where was I at? So that's a good question. How long to cure minimum? 1 month. That's what I recommend. I mean, if you want the best potential you can in the least amount of time, then 1 month would be your minimum. 3 months would be optimal, but 1 month is really good. Okay, so let's see here. Is there a platform we can share pictures of grow? Yeah, actually, I'm part of 420magazine.com, and so I'm a sponsor there. And if you go to 420magazine.com, you can do a grow journal, and yeah, you can also come to my grow journal if you want to and share there. I used to link it to in my video. I should probably start doing that again, because I also post my grow videos and some pictures and stuff over there of every grow that I do. Let's see here. I love to show you how I'm doing. Okay, cool. Let's see here. I think the perfect pH is between 5.8 and 6.0. So I jar cure for a month, and then that's when we like to start smoking it. We always start smoking it before then, everyone does, but that's when it's going to be its best, I think. Yeah, Florida's laws are stupid. They need to change their laws. I read up on Florida's laws, and I don't like them because it's one of the places I was considering moving, but after I read about its marijuana laws, I'm like, nah, I don't want to live there. Let's see here. Maximum potency in your strains is really just following a good grow system. So if you follow my grow system step by step, you're going to get the maximal potential out of whatever strain you're growing. And again, my course is completely free. It's a video course on my website, either perfectsunled.com or growpotcheapy.com. The links are always in the description of my videos. So just go watch them. They're free, and they're not super long. I do plan on putting all that knowledge into a book, just make it easier to find everything that you want and good referencing. And also I'm going to have a checklist page, something that you should check every day for different parts of the grow, so you don't forget. Just makes it like foolproof. It's going to be a foolproof book. I can call it that, like how to grow marijuana easily, foolproof or something, but I'm probably going to call it something more specific, like how to grow marijuana and cocoa foolproof system, something like that. And look I mean, it's foolproof. My wife is growing right now, her first grow ever by herself completely. Of course, she has my brain to pick to ask questions on, but you could too. When I have the book, you just pick my book, and that's my brain. And it's like, hey, I have a question. It's right there in the book. That's the whole point of the book, is to basically be like, I'm there growing with you, and any question you have is right there in the book. And then also the checklist is pretty much me telling you every day what to do. As long as you read the checklist, that's me going, okay, make sure to check this, this, and this. You're good to go. Recharge, veg plus blue, maybe some. So Fox Farm Ocean is a soil grow, and so when I grow in soil, I like to water with my water at right around 6.0 to 6.3. And then I have garden lime, and I make sure to keep putting garden lime back in the soil once it's used up. And so I usually put just a little bit more garden lime in there, like every month or so, until the grow's done. But what that allows you to do is you're putting in a lower pH water, but not too low, into the soil, and then the garden lime will raise it up back to around 7.0. So that way you get a nice swing inside your soil. So if you're watering with 6.0 to 6.3, the lime in the soil and the chemistry in the soil is going to bring the soil pH back up to about 7.0. So yeah, any soil is going to most likely have lime in it already, but I like to add more lime into it as I grow to make sure that stays steady. I've also experimented using acidic soil. So instead of lime, I added a pH down buffer to my soil. It's the same thing you would put. That's basically sulfur, garden sulfur. It's the same thing you'd put inside your soil to make it acidic to grow blueberries, because blueberries like an acidic soil, and so you put that in your ground or in your soil to make it acidic. And so I've done that before, where I made my soil acidic, and then I watered with like 6.5 water, and then that acidic soil kind of brought it down. And so I'd always water with higher pH, and then the soil would bring it down. That worked really good as well. Let's see here. Please use nitrogen once. Let's see here. Recharge nitrogen soil. I never used recharge. I like to keep it simple because it's the best. I've used a lot of different stuff over the years, and most of that stuff is just useless, waste of money. Oh, that's awesome. We the people. Yeah, hit the like button, guys. I never actually asked for anything. Probably should mention that once in a while. Like, subscribe if you want more videos in the future, and hit the like button. Yeah, it's all good stuff. Let's see here. I find it grow better in year 7, but not over. And you have to listen to your plants. Yeah, you definitely have to listen to your plants. Plants tell you a lot of stuff if you listen to them. About New York for med plant grow presently or in the future. I haven't looked up on New York's laws actually. I know what's right next there, Massachusetts, whatever went legal, but I don't know about New York's laws. I haven't looked into it recently. Getting first one started. Oh, awesome, Lucky. Good luck on your grow, man. Again, just if you just keep on it and go back to the go back to my grow videos if you forget anything and write down notes. Like when you go through my grow videos, write down notes on important stuff that I mentioned, like what pH to have at, how much to water with, things like that. If you write down those notes and then go back to your notes and follow those notes as you're growing, you're guaranteed to get a good grow as long as you do everything by the book. That's the hard part, is making sure you don't forget and do everything by the book. That's why I want to make the book with an actual reference sheet that you can check every day that tells you exactly what to do. It's so crazy. Like this lighting, I'm using 5000K lighting. It makes my lip look like it's just like skin color. It doesn't look like I have a lip. Like right here, see, it just looks skin color. Ain't that weird? I'm looking into my video. I'm like, that's not what I look like in real life. I have a darker lip than that. But oh well. Yeah, keep it simple, stupid. What do you think about hempy buckets compared to auto pots? Hempy bucket all the way. Hempy bucket's so much easier than auto pots. And by autopot, you mean, I'm make sure I'm not forgetting here because I'm going to look up autopot real fast. I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right thing. One of the holes on the side, or no, the autopot. No, that's SmartPot. Autopot is the one where you have the reservoir in the bottom. Yeah, I actually grew with that. I have a grow on the channel where I started growing with autopot, and then I switched it out because I didn't like it. So I switched it over to I put it into a drip system. They're really expensive. They're not worth the money. They're actually cheap pieces of crap. The plastic is not good plastic, and those little floater things break very easily over time. So I recommend not. I don't recommend the autopot system at all personally. I mean, the idea is a good idea. It doesn't work very good in practice, though. There's a lot of things you have to make sure to do in order for it to work right. Otherwise, the pH gets fucked up easily. Honestly, my drip system is so much easier to maintain and build, and it's really easy. And it takes so much stress off your life. If you use a 50-gallon drum, depending on how many plants you have, you can actually leave for a week at a time and come back, and your plants will be happy. As once you get it down and you got the system down, you can. Oftentimes, me and my wife would leave for a week and then come back, and the plants would be fine. Can't do that with autopots. Tried, my plants almost died. Okay, so always keep a grow journal and work in it daily as well. Write down everything you do and watch. Yeah. Hempy buckets are bottom fed. Yeah, hempy bucket or not? No, hempy buckets. Well, they're technically kind of like bottom fed. I just made a video on hempy bucket. So if you want to learn what hempy bucket is and how to grow with it, just check out my last video right before this, or second last video. Anyway, just look at my channel. It's one of the last videos right now. It's one of the videos I just uploaded, and I have a whole So that's how you do hempy bucket. And so it's technically a bottom feeding system. It's like deep water culture without the bubbles, basically. So I wouldn't worry about your pH fluctuating so much. It's really not that. As long as your plant's healthy, don't really worry about the pH. That's one thing I always tell everyone. Like, don't stress about it. If the plant's healthy and growing fast and everything's good, don't really worry about the pH. If you're following everything properly, then don't worry about it. Only when the plant starts getting sick, then you want to start really looking at the pH. Yeah, air pots. That's the one where they have the holes in the side, like the cone holes. I actually have some of those still. I like them, but if you ever get gnats, they're a pain in the ass. But what you do, if you're using the air pots and you ever get gnats, take a large pair of pantyhose and stretch it all the way over the pot, and then put sand or gnat nix on the top, and that will get rid of your gnats, because the gnats can't get through the pantyhose and to the side holes. That's the problem with those pots. So if you don't put the pantyhose over them and you have gnats, they can actually get into those side holes, and it's really hard to get rid of them that way. So pantyhose, sand, or gnat nix on the top, and then within like 2 weeks they'll be gone. Hey, awesome. Yeah, Door Star is perfect for 3x3. What do I think about using clay pellets in a hempy bucket? You can do that, like the Hydroton. Yeah, you can do that. I prefer perlite because it's smaller and has more like little air pockets and stuff. But Hydroton's fine too. It just adds more because they're round circles together. Imagine 3 round circles. There's that little triangle space in between them. It allows more like space in between. But obviously, people do water culture with just Hydroton. So you can also use. There's something similar. They sell it. It's I think it's mined out of Germany, and it's like a clay. It's a clay natural clay pebble, and it kind of has the same shape as perlite. And but it's made from clay. It's a little more expensive. I can't remember what it's called right now. It starts with an S. But honestly, Hydroton's a lot more expensive, and perlite works better, I think, for better or just as good as Hydroton for a hempy bucket, and it's a lot cheaper. So you might as well just use it. Now you can reuse Hydroton, and if you're going to buy Hydroton, I highly recommend reusing it. But it's really a pain in the ass because the roots really grow in and around it, and you have to like you have to really wash the crap out of it. And you have to let it dry good enough to get all those roots to be dead. Then you might want to use something like Canazyme or something that allows the plant to eat off the dead roots on the Hydroton. That's a little bit of dead roots left behind. I hate reusing medium. It's a pain in the ass. So I just perlite's cheaper. So my next system is going to be your drip system. Well, when I use the auto pots with more than 2 gallons in the reservoir, the pH goes all the way up, mostly when I'm using silica. So make sure to pH your reservoir and make sure it's balanced first. So if you use silica, silica is going to bring your pH up. So give it a few hours and get a feel for what your pH is going to be in your reservoir before you start watering. I harvest 3 that I had outside, but brought the rest in. Hey, awesome. Choose life. That's great. Congrats on the first grow. A copper ring around the stalk. I think that's kind of like wearing magnets around your wrist for better blood flow. I don't buy into that stuff unless I have like definitive evidence. I don't buy into. I'm not gullible, so I just don't buy into shit like that. But what copper is good for is those copper mesh sheets. You can put those at the bottom of a pot, and it makes it really hard for the roots to grow through. So I smoked the first time when I was probably 13 or 14. I'm 40 years old now, so it's been a long time. It's hard to remember, but I know I was around that age. I remember the first time I smoked. I was at this party, and these Mexicans were like, "Yo, say you want to smoke some weed, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds cool." And I didn't really get high the first time. I was like, I kind of felt a little different, but I couldn't really tell. But the first time I actually was stoned was me and my friend Jason and this other guy. I forget his name right now. And they've been smoking for a while, and they fucked with my head, so they got me really stoned. And then they're like, "Yo, dude, look at that, man!" And they just pointed at the ground, right? And then they threw. I think someone was eating an orange, and they threw an orange peel on the ground. They're like, dude, look at the orange peel, man. And how I would just get stuck on the orange peel for like a long time. And they would start laughing at me. And I'm like, "What, dude? What's so funny, man?" I'm like trying to figure out what's so funny and why I'm staring at the orange peel for so long. And I didn't realize I was staring at it for so long because I was so stoned. And they were just cracking up like, "Dude, you've been staring at that orange peel for like 5 minutes." I'm like, "What? You're tripping." And that was the first time I got like actually stoned. Yeah, I've heard of kind soil. I personally don't grow in soil. Don't like it. I mean, it's fine to grow in. The benefits of cocoa is so overwhelming that it's like, why would I grow with anything else? Unless it's hard to grow with cocoa. Like outdoors, I've grown with cocoa outdoors, even in the ground. But sometimes outdoors, I'll use like a very loose soil I can actually water every day. That has a lot of like tree bark in it and stuff. Let's see here. Magnets around your wrist are great. And then let's see here. Let's see here. No, I don't smoke anymore. I can't. Unfortunately, my post-traumatic stress disorder and weed don't work good together. I know for some people, weed actually helps their post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't help mine at all. And I've tried, more recently, I tried CBDs and smoked that, and it didn't help at all. Didn't really do anything for me. It kind of helped me feel relaxed a little bit, but it didn't really help everything else at all. So I recommend if you're going to do metal halide, don't do a full grow with it, but you can do a mixture of metal halide and HPS. And if you're using HID lighting, that is the best thing you can do, is have like a 1,000-watt HPS and then like a 250-watt metal halide to supplement it, and having that extra blue, or just have a blue LED in there, a deep blue LED, like a aquarium. Well, you want to use aquarium LED because they don't have good penetration. Just a cheap LED. You don't have to be. It has to be very expensive. Just enough to have decent penetration, pure blue lighting, and that you want that blue lighting during flower. It really helps the buds get more crystally and it denses up the buds. Metal halide will do the same thing, but you're wasting a lot of electricity that way. So just a supplemental blue LED will be fine. So the best way to add moisture to dry weed without ruining it, a piece of lettuce, a little sliver of carrot works really good. Usually only takes like a day or so in order to get that weed nice and fluffy and moist again. Greatest auto strain, Dutch Passion by, or Colorado Cookies by Dutch Passion, in my opinion. All around is really good, everything. Gorilla Glue by Fast Buds is really nice. Not a very good yielder, but very nice weed. Walter White by Mephisto Genetics, really nice. Yeah, I've tried aquaponics. I even built a system for Aeroponics. You use a Dremel tool inside of a PVC pipe, and then you have there's a little small pump, like 100 miles per gallon pump with a regulator, so you can have it just drip. And then the PVC, and all in a timer, and then the motor of the Dremel will turn on. You want to use a flat disc thing, the flat sandpaper disc one, and that turns on, spins super fast. You need a really high speed Dremel, and when the drop of water hits it, it just vaporizes that water and turns it to like an instant mist. And so just that will turn on and drip, 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 and that will just mist it for a little bit, and that comes on like every 15 to 30 minutes. But honestly, the growth rate wasn't any better than coco. So coco and hempy bucket I found to be the simplest deep water, or coco and hempy buckets I found to be the simplest hydroponic system to grow with all the benefits and without all the headache. It's super easy to do, has all the benefits of any other type of hydro system, and you don't have all the headaches of the shit that I hate about hydro. So a bubble cloner, I think that's where you just have the air bubble system, or the air stone inside of water, right? Basically like a little tote. It's basically what it is. And then there's like water, and there's the bubble system called the bubble. I think that's what a bubble cloner is. I'm not sure. I would use just like really good peroxide, or you can use just a little bit of bleach and water to clean it. That goes for cleaning anything you grow with, honestly. But yeah. Honestly, that for clones, I think Rockwool is just the most simple to do. You just put it inside, dip it inside your gel, put it inside the Rockwool, put it inside humidity dome, and just water it a little bit to keep the Rockwool moist, and you're good to go. You get roots in like 7 days. Let's see here. Any chance that you've ever tried to nuke head strain? And if you have, I don't know if I've done a nuke head strain yet. I don't think so. How do you feel about chemtrails being spread or sprayed and growing outside? I really don't know what's in chemtrails. I've done a little bit of study here and there on it. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories about it, but I don't really have an opinion because I haven't done enough study. Unless I don't like to form an opinion until I know both sides of the story and have as much information as possible, that I feel like I have an educated opinion. I don't necessarily buy into the conspiracies about it, but so that would be Daniel. That's my Perfect Sun Mini. I'll just type it really quick. There you go. But yeah, I don't know. I never really bought into the whole chemtrail thing, so I don't really know how dangerous it is for humans and all that stuff. I do know the government doesn't really care about our health, so if when they do spray stuff or put shit in our water, it's mainly to keep people healthier or healthy enough to keep voting, but they don't really care about our health overall. That's clear by the food they sell us legally. You just look at some of the food that we buy. You can tell they don't have our health. The FDA doesn't care about our health at all. Just look at what's legal to buy. It's like, why is that food legal? Like there's nothing healthy about it. But I guess at the same time, they don't want to take away our rights to eat shit that's not healthy. But still, there should be some more regulation on some of the stuff that's legally allowed to be consumed. It's like, how that shouldn't be legal to consume. Is there a limit wattage wise that becomes too much light in a 4x8 we'll be using? There's not really a limit. Honestly, if you could make your grow to where you have lights on the walls and on the ceiling and it's just like a big light dome, that's going to be optimal. That's going to be like the sun. But the problem is you probably won't get too much bigger of a yield out of it than you would if you just had a nice good light. So there is that point where too much light doesn't do much difference to the plant. But if you did have, like, let's say 2 side lights and one top light, or even 4 side lights and 1 top light, you can actually get super big grows out of that. The problem is, though, you would need to grow most likely photoperiods, and you'd have to grow them very big. Just grow a big, like outside, basically, like you're growing a big tree. So you want to put it in like a big, at very minimum, a 20-gallon pot, because you want to get a gigantic plant like you would outdoors. But yeah, so that'd be the only way that you'd want to grow that much light. Other than that, something like the max yield, the perfect sun cob, that's going to give you more than enough light for a 4x4 area. You're going to be able to pull over 2 pounds with it. So let's see. I'm just reading really quick to catch up here. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing streaks in the sky since I was a kid. It's nothing new. Some of that stuff is obviously just like basically like a water type mist from the jet propulsion that they use for their jets. But the ones where they fly low, though, that's the stuff that I wonder about. And obviously, I've seen farmers use it. You have the low flying airplane and they spray their crop, but how much of that spray on their crop gets over to other people's property and stuff like that? It's pretty localized, though. Uh, 6-foot ceiling, Goliath perfect on a rail for seedlings. I wouldn't put Goliath on a rail. One, it's just really heavy. You're going to wear your rail out really quickly. And 2, it's not designed to be on a rail. And if you do have it on a rail, I would only move it like a foot back and forth. So cover like a 5x4 area or so. Or even a 5x5 with it going 1 foot back and forth. I think I've watched the Grow Boss before. He's the guy that well, let me check real fast. I think I've watched him. I know his face, so if it's the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, the bald guy. I mean, from what I haven't watched a whole lot of his stuff, but from what I have watched, he seems like a genuine guy, and he has some good knowledge in his head. So yeah, he has a different grow system than I do, but he grows differently than how I grow. But yeah, I do. He seems like a cool dude. So 1300 watts in a 4x8 would be fine. In fact, that's pretty much what I would do, because in a 4x8, I would want to use 2 max yields. Each max yield uses about 300 or 635 watts. So that's about 1300 watts right there. So yeah, that's perfect. You can even go more. You can do 2 Gavitas, each pumping out 1200 watts, or about 1075 watts or 1150, depends on the Gavita. Basically a double-ended HPS. Those are way better than standard HPS. They use a little bit more heat and electricity, but they're way worth it. They're like twice more as efficient. So you use like an extra 150 watts, but you get like twice as much out of that light. So I highly recommend the double-ended bulbs. I like Oshio double-ended bulb if you use HPS.
So that would be like over 2,000 watts for 8x4 area. That's how most professional growers grow, because a lot of them haven't hopped on the LED train yet. So I don't know what 40 by 40 by 80 is. My brain doesn't register those numbers. So if you can put that into feet. Yeah, so what I use, like, I don't know if you've seen the res I built, um, but I just use a 50-gallon drum that they use on farms. It's basically, you buy it at Wilco, which is like a farming store. And yeah, that's what I use. And I don't even bother drilling holes in it or anything. I just have everything coming out of the top. Then I just set the hood or the lid on top of that, so that to help the light not get in there. And that's been fine for me. But you can always drill a hole at the top and have your pipes come out perfectly out of the very top. I recommend out of the top because you need that air hole, so that you have, when it waters, the air can get in there. That way it doesn't just keep drip feeding. No, no, the new video I have for on the website right now for my drip system, I use a 50-gallon plastic drum. I used to use auto pots, whatever they call that. It's like basically like a mini swimming pool that you set up, and I just didn't like it as much. It got holes too easy and stuff like that. So I went ahead and went with the plastic drum. It's cheaper anyway. The plastic drum at Wilco is like $30 or something like that, $50. So 3.5 by 3.5 by 7. 7 is not very tall, but you can. It's not too big of a deal. You can get around 7. I've grown in 7 foot tall before. You just have to grow your plants a little bit more shorter, be a little more economical with how you grow your plants. But in a 3x5 by 3x5, I would use one max yield, which is 645 watts or so, something like that, or a perfect sun cob, which is like 575 watts. Each one will get you over 2 pounds. The max yield will get you 3 pounds if you grow right with it, if you have the right strains and you're a really good grower. Whereas the cob will get you like 2.5, 2.6 or so maximally. Yeah, just go to Wilco. If you have a Wilco near you or a farming store, go ask them for their 50-gallon plastic drum, and you can use that. It works great. That's what I use. Those orange drums, like they're kind of orangish color in my grow room. That's what those are. It's not necessarily true. Just because you have runoff doesn't mean you won't get buildup. It really depends on what you're watering with. And as a general rule, if you water every day to runoff, it's a much harder to get buildup, but it could still happen. What I found with cycloflower nutrients, it's really hard to get runoff if you water every day to runoff. Yeah, when I grow with Gavitas, I use AC period. AC is just so much easier to keep your room cool at the optimal temperature with whatever light you're using. So I always use AC, but I found the AC was the best way to grow with those lights anyway. Because then I don't have to use glass on it, because glass takes like 20% of the efficiency of the light away, which is what a cool hood, that's what a cool hood does. And so just having open light with a nice UFO hood on it or something, or just a nice good big hood on it, no glass, gets the light. The light performs better, and then I just have the AC going to keep temperatures under control. But yeah, that's how I personally do it. So it's up to you. And let's see here. Yeah, definitely. I hear what you're saying. The drip system does make things a lot easier. I mean, you still have to check on your plants every day. I mean, I recommend it. You want to check your pH every day and stuff like that. But if you once you for like 2 or 3 days, once you've got the pH of your drum nice and balanced, it takes about 2 or 3 days for that to happen. Then you can leave for like a week sometimes, I don't recommend that, but if you absolutely had to, you could, as long as everything, everything's running smoothly. I have 2 20-gallon reservoirs for the autopots. I mean, like I said, you can make the autopot system work. I recommend doing more how they do it with. So you might want to use, if you use cocoa, I highly recommend putting lime in your cocoa, just because it's going to help you keep the pH balanced easier. So it's kind of like almost like a mix between soil and cocoa growing. But I just don't like the autopot system. It's really hard to keep the pH in those reservoirs the way you want it, because it's such a little amount of water in there. So the oxygen to surface ratio makes the pH rise up a lot faster than your reservoir does. How long should I flush in cocoa? Never. The only time you should ever flush in cocoa is if you fucked your plants up and you got salt buildup or something like that. Like I said, as long as you water every day to runoff, you shouldn't get salt buildup. But things could happen. But unless your plant's sick or something, you don't want to flush. The only time I flush is at the very, very end of my grow, right before the plant, right after the plants are finished, they're bulking up stage. I flush, and then I do pure water for 3 days, and that's it. And then they're done. They cut down. See, would the perfect sun be a good fit for my 3.5 foot by 3.5 foot by 8 foot tall? Yeah, I would go with the cob for that area. Cob would be perfect. It's like $800. If you live overseas, use something like shipit2.com. What this does is it's the cheapest way to get it. So I ship to them, they ship to you. This allows you to order using the United States address. So you can buy it with the United States price, which is a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper than if I were to ship it to you directly. So it takes a little bit longer to get it, but they're a good company. I've had a lot of people buy my lights through them. Sorry, just reading through to try to catch up here. I didn't want to read out loud. Yeah, at the very end of grow, then that's what I do. Just one time is all you need. Just flush. What I do is I wait until the plants are done, their bulk up stage. Then I just flush it until I flush it. Let's say it's a 3-gallon pot. I would run 10 gallons through it, however much it takes to pretty much get, no runoff, or no ppms in the runoff. So if my water is, let's say 100 ppms, that's my tap water, and I pull it through, I expect to get about 100 ppms in the runoff. Once that happens, I know it's done. I just go by how much. I just take a hose and I just put it there for 3 to 5 minutes. I just make sure I get a lot of runoff, and then I put it back underneath the light, and I just put pure water in after that, so RO water or something, or filtered water, for the next 3 days. My water is like 40 ppm, so I just use my tap water because it's really good. Unfortunately, my health makes it to where I can't do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu anymore. So yeah, but you got to, when life goes bad for you, health wise or anything else, then you just got to find other things that you're good at and that you enjoy doing to supplement that time. So it's all about perspective. It's about how you look at things. So if you choose to look at it, for example, let's say you lost your legs, you can go, oh, that sucks. I can't do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu no more. I can't do this and that anymore. I can't jet ski anymore. I can't snowboard anymore. That's a negative mindset. Instead, go, oh, I have more time to paint. I have more time to play video games. I have more time, think about the positive aspects of having no legs. And it makes life much happier. Favorite auto, Dutch Passions, Colorado cookies. That's my favorite. Everything about it's an awesome plant. Everything about it's good. I've said it a couple times already in this live thing. What would you say about putting a decomposing fish head into the soil with your plant? Yeah, that's fine. If you're growing in soil, if you're growing something like cocoa, I don't really see the benefit of that. But yeah, if you're in soil, that'd be fine. You're not going to see like immediate benefits from that. That's good to do outdoors where you plan to grow again next year. So if you have a little outdoor garden where you grow your marijuana, and if you put decomposing fish or any type of stuff like that, then the next year your soil is going to be a lot better. So that's what I recommend for that kind. For an immediate benefit, I don't really see the point. Hey, no problem, Daniel. Have a good one, man. Yeah. Dead fish, and it's going to have nitrogen. I think it has phosphorus, potassium. Think about it. Like all meat has these kind of minerals in it, right? And I know one of the best sources of nitrogen is going to be like bat guano. I think it's bat guano, or maybe that's more PK. I can't remember now. But there are different things that have more nitrogen than others. So you just have to look at, and you can look at pretty much anything. Just look up fish heads or look up dead fish in general, just fish, and it'll tell you like kind of roughly what it's going to put into it. Obviously, they're going to have calcium, magnesium in them because they're a living organism. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of nutrients out of it. What size pots do you recommend? I have 5 2-gallon pots and a 2x2x4 tent. Should I go with one big pot? Honestly, it's easier to get a bigger yield with more smaller plants. So I would stick with your 2-gallon pot, and you can start with 4 plants, and then if they overgrow the area, just pull a plant out. If 3 plants are still too much, just pull a plant out, and now you have 2 plants. So yeah, that's how I would personally do it. The 4-foot height is going to be your biggest problem. That's super short, because you got to think about it. The light needs to be 18 inches away from your plants. Well, it needs to be 2 feet away most of its life. The closest you want to get is 18 inches. So that's already, that's a lot of distance right there in that 4-foot area. Then you have to have at least 3 inches above the light for it to breathe air. And then the light itself is about 3 inches tall. That's already a half a foot right there. So that's 6 inches plus the 18. Then you have your pot, which is going to be another, at least 8 inches tall. So you're going to have to train your plant to be flat. I would recommend getting a gate, one of those trellises, and just tie the branches straight down to it. Just bend the plant over and just tie it straight down to the trellis. That way the buds are only going to go up like 6 to 8 inches tall. That's going to be your best bet with that small of a space. Yeah, I've been talking about writing a book for years now. I never have. I do plan on doing it. I'm just always so busy with my art stuff that it's hard to find the time. But I do want to start. I've been writing in my head, so I do plan on actually writing it though. I've written a book on how to draw figures. So, and I actually have a best-selling novel. I'm actually a writer, so I should just go ahead and write it already. In your experience, what breeders or seed banks have had the best, most reliable genetics, or had some of your favorite strains? Dutch Passion, hands down. Dutch Passion is awesome. Like they have just about anything you want. Both photoperiods and autos, they're both great. They have some of the best photos ever, in my opinion, that I've ever grown. Second best probably be Royal Queen seeds. Very reliable, but not as good as smoke as some of Dutch Passion stuff. Like their Cairo cookies, their Night Queen, daiquiri line. Some of these autoflowers are just so good. It's just as good as anything A grade up there that you can get from a photoperiod. And then Mephisto Genetics has some really good strains too. So you got a clone. So Roberto has a clone with PM. So powdery mildew. Use Pure Crop 1, and the PM doesn't look like it's going away. I have some Serenade. I'll use it. So the problem with powdery mildew is that it's actually not systemic like a lot of people think. It doesn't live inside the plant. As long as the problem is that the spores, the microspores of powdery mildew, spreads throughout your grow room. So you cure the plant, and then it gets reinfected again because all the powdery mildew spores are all over your room. The only way to get rid of powdery mildew is to clean your entire room down. So, and you can't do that while you're growing. So what you have to do is finish out your grow. I recommend just controlling it with milk and water. You can use other stuff you want to, but milk and water is safe all the way through the whole grow, and just spray it like every day if you have to. Usually you can get away with spraying it like every 3 days, and just 1 to 5 parts. So if you're using 5 parts water, use 1 part milk. So basically, let's say you're using 5 gallons of water, use 1 gallon of milk. That's how you do it. Put that in one of those pump sprays, and then just spray it every day if you have to, or every 3 days. And you can do that all throughout flower. And then once the plants are harvested, just rinse them underwater to get rid of the milk residue, and it's good to go. I found that to be the easiest way to control powdery mildew organically and without hurting the plant. And actually probably the most effective way I've ever controlled it. Once you're done with your grow, you got to strip your entire room down and clean the shit out of it. I recommend also with bleach and water that you want to kill everything. all the spores. You got to watch your fan. You got to wash every fucking little nook and cranny. Honestly, otherwise the powdery mildew will just come right back. And then you want to let it sit for a while. Just let it dry and be sit for a while after you've cleaned it. I also recommend burning sulfur a couple times after you've cleaned it. You want and burn sulfur at a super high rate that it will kill you if you're in there. It'll kill anything in there, bugs, whatever. And just make sure you're not in the house when you do that. And then yeah, that's what I recommend doing. Powdery mildew is a bitch to get rid of, and that's the only way I found to get rid of it. You gotta go fucking ham on that shit. Let's see here. Trying to catch up with the guys here. Yeah, Dynafem. I actually like Dynafem. I forgot about that company. I actually like a lot of their strains. I remember growing autoflower. Their White Widow autoflower is really good, but it's not. I haven't grown Dynafem in a while, so I probably should grow them again and see if it compares to like strength wise, because the strength of Cara Cookies by Dutch Passion is just off the charts. Really good shit. Dutch Passion photoperiod strain. I haven't really grown a lot of their photoperiods, honestly, so I can't really comment on that. Yeah, actually, I have. I'm not sure if Teresa's Mist is colloidal silver. I think it is though, but I've used Teresa's Mist, which is basically the same thing as if you're using colloidal silver, and made my own seeds. What I found, if you're going to do it that way, if you're not going to get into an actual breeding program, because breeding is a science in of itself, you just want some quick seeds that are going to be pretty reliable. Is take whatever strain you want that's already very stable, like something like Cara Cookies by Dutch Passion, for example. Take that plant and then spray one of its branches so that only that branch gets seeded. So put a plastic bag over the rest of it, and then just spray that branch so the mist doesn't get up into the rest of the plant. That branch doesn't have your male flowers, and then grow that plant in isolation because the pollen can travel a long distance. So make sure it's in isolation, and then have it seed itself. So just grow it for extra long to get mature seeds. That's all you have to do. It's not a big deal. So the plant's not usable anyway. You're not going to be smoking anything out of it. You're just using it for seeds only. It doesn't even have to be a big plant. I actually grew a plant that was like 1.5 feet tall, and I made it seed itself, and I just let it grow like extra long, like an extra month, and got really nice usable seeds. But having it seed itself is I found the most stable seeds if you're just going to do it like that one off, and not actually get into breeding. Another way to do it too that's pretty stable is using 2 of the exact same strain. You want to make sure they're the same strain from the same company. So use two autoflower Cara Cookies by Dutch Passion, let's say, and have one of them that you spray a little bit on to get seeds, and then that one is going to pollinate this one. Grow this one a little bit before you grow this one. So you put this one, start planting it, let it grow for about a month, and then plant this one and let it grow. This one will be nice pollen. That pollen will pollinate this one, and that one will be your seed plant. Honestly, I found that the more stable seeds are the one itself. They're about 85% stable. Once it seeds another plant, even if it's the exact same strain, that one's not as stable, like maybe 75% stable. In other words, about 25% of your plants are going to grow funky. They're going to have weird growth, like a sativa individual calyx growth on branches sometimes. Very strange looking. Still really good. It's just strange looking growth. Looks weird. Okay, let me catch back up again. I have some artwork around me, but it might be kind of hard to see. Hold on, let me see something. There's that one right there. Man, how long have I not been on mic? I just hit that button. I don't know how long I've not been coming through. Sorry about that. I've been growing for like at least 7 years, but I grow a lot each year. So I don't just do one grow a year. I do several grows a year because ever since the beginning, I've been growing autos and photoperiod side by side. And so I would do like a photoperiod grow and then a couple auto grows and then another photoperiod grow, a couple auto grows. So I've done a lot of grows during that time, a lot of experimentation as well. Let's see here, trying to catch up here. Yeah, cream of the crop. I've actually grown. I know I've grown at least one strain by cream of the crop, and they had pretty good autos. I have made edibles. I don't do it anymore. Yeah, the video. I will, Jim Bean. I will make the video available later. So I know you can like rewind and watch now too, but I also will make it. It'll be on the site permanently. I grow hydro, so I grow in coco personally, and also hempy buckets. If you let a cannabis plant go too long, it will naturally seed itself most likely. If you let it flower, just keep going and going, it eventually it will probably. It's not guaranteed, but it should hermy. I don't recommend doing it that way because then you have a higher chance of your plant hermy. If you use colloidal silver, that doesn't happen. Yeah, sorry about losing the sound there earlier. I'm catching up to the chat now. Okay, cool. I think I'm caught up now. Yeah, hempy buckets are super easy to grow in. But honestly, my coco system is just as easy because you almost do the exact same thing. Like I almost do the exact same thing when I water by hand with coco. I start in the center, until about 10 days, and then I start watering the edge, and I just water until runoff every day. So it's like really no different. How I treat hempy and coco are pretty much identical. So you want to wait about 3 weeks or so because you want to wait till the plant is actually sexually mature. Because if the plant's not sexually mature, it's not going to produce male parts anyway. And that usually takes from seed, that takes about 3 weeks. So I would wait till about 3 weeks and then to start spray the branch. And then in about another week or two, you should see the male parts on there. And then have some pollen and then just let it just keep growing, let it do its thing. Get some nice seeds. I actually still have some seeds I made that way, some Think Different seeds. So these are seeds from like many years ago. They're probably like 4 years old now. But I keep them in the fridge, so they're actually still good. And I don't know what to do with them. I have these seeds that I've made like 4 years ago, and I don't think I want to grow them because it's not my favorite strain by Dutch Passion, but they are pretty stable. Like I said, about 85% stability. And I'm not sure what to do with them. I should probably just like go. Actually, I can't say that. As part of a novel, catch the undertone of this language. As part of a novel plot in a screenplay I'm writing, maybe the character can take those seeds and just throw them everywhere. Just like take a drive and just throw them out the window into nice areas that have a lot of water next to it. Yeah. I don't like ocean forest soil personally. I don't like Fox Farm at all. I don't like their nutrients. I don't like their soil. This personal, I don't think it's very good. There's way better soil. I've grown with Wilco soil. I think is better, honestly. Like actual Wilco brand that they make themselves. They actually make some good soil. Wilco does. Wilco, the farm store. I've grown some really big monster plants in Wilco soil outdoors. Just dug a big hole, put the soil in there and grew. I used to use like half of their soil and then half their soil amendment to make it more breathable. Their soil amendment is mostly like, I think it's rice hulls and bark. And so I mixed that into it about 50-50 with their soil. Hey, what's up, Goliath Grower? Yeah, I do have a, I think I have to go look and make sure it's my old Goliath. I'm pretty sure the Goliath I have right now is my old Goliath. I've done a few grows with it. And then I'll probably be selling that off when somebody, because I get people call me all the time or emailing me saying, hey, do you have any used lights? And most of the time I don't, because people don't like to return them. So, but I do plan on, once someone calls and says, "Hey, you have a used light," that'll probably sell for cheap. Yeah, I still use psychonutrients. Psychoflower, like this, from Australia. If anyone wants it, just a really very good, awesome nutrient that's inexpensive. Even after buying on Amazon, after shipping it, well, if you have Prime, it helps a lot. Buy Psychoflower with Prime on Amazon. It's actually cheaper in the long run than buying general hydroponics. So it's very affordable, and it's better. It's so the So let's say a normal nutrient, like let's say something like Florinova, its molecules are this big, like relatively they're this big. The molecules are like this big, or this big. So that big versus that big, that's the difference. That's mostly amino acids, whereas most nutrients are salt molecules. And so the salt buildup with psychoflower nutrients is very minimal. Yeah, it's an amazing nutrient. Like when I watered with Florinova, for example, I would water with about 1.2 EC pretty much almost the whole grow. I think it was even like 1 point. Well, I'm trying to remember what the EC would be. Hold on. I remember I used to do by ppm, so that's what I'm trying to figure out in my head, because I used to water with like up to like 1200 ppm. So let's see here. Just do it backwards. So you'd go like, because it's how do you do that again? I'm trying to remember how to figure this out. I don't know why my head's not doing this for EC. What the hell? My brain is not figuring this out. I'm having a brain fart here. Yeah, it's chelated, meaning that it's mostly amino acids. This means it's very small. Okay, who here remembers how I told you to convert ppms to EC? My brain is not remembering right now. Oh, divide by 500. Okay. Oh, wow, that's how much I was watering with? That's crazy. So, because I used to water with 900 ppms, right? And to figure out what that is in EC, because I use a 500 EC machine. So that was 1.8 EC. So I used to water with 1.8 EC with Florinova, just in case that's not coming through by general hydroponics. 1.8 EC is what I used to water with. Psychoflower, I water with, that's as much as I water with right now with Psychoflower. So instead of 900 ppm, I only water with 500 ppm. I think actually right now we're at 1.1 or 1.2. So 1.2 times 500, 600 ppm. So I used to water with 900 ppm. Now I'm at max 600 ppm, max with Psychoflower. So it's way more efficient, meaning the plants can use it much more easily than they can other nutrients. There are other brands of nutrients that are more chelated like that are very efficient. But that one I can testify to because I've grown with it many times. Kogos is another really good one too. Actually, my biggest plants I ever grow with Kogos, but I don't think it was because of Kogos though. Yeah, I might. I mean, when I have used lights, it's usually only like one light. So, but yeah, I might do a giveaway. That's what I've been holding on to. That's why I haven't sold it yet. But my book, I don't know when I'm gonna be done with it. Well, with soil, you don't have all soil. You want a pH, your water anyway. Like you can water with just hose water. It's designed for that. But if you want to get the best out of your plant, I recommend pHing it to 6.3, and then allow it. And then the lime in the soil will bring it from 6.3 and neutralize it. And so the soil will, the nutrients will go through that fluctuation of 6.0 back up to 7. So every time you water, they're 6.0 and then it goes up to 7. It happens pretty quickly. But that little bit of shift in your pH allows the plant to get more nutrients available to it easily. So that's what I recommend. Locks asks, would you recommend a 40-watt CFL with the perfect mini for sidelining, or will the perfect sun mini be? Oh, it'd be more than enough. Yeah, the mini is a very powerful light. Most likely the area you're growing is going to be small if you're growing with the mini. So CFL is not going to make any difference for you. My LEDs already have all the deep blue and deep red, so you don't need any supplemental lighting. And honestly, a CFL is shit. They're not going to, they need to be really close to your plants, and they're just going to block the light from the LED, which is useless. But you could use it, like if the mini is here, you could use it on the side like this, like literally on the side of the plant. Just make it really close to the plant. But it's honestly only going to benefit those buds that are right next to the light, and it's not going to really help much at all. Let's see here. No, you can do a horizontal grow, Anthony. You can actually have your light horizontal like this, face it this way, and have your plant this way, and all the plant will grow out this way, and then you just tie it to a trellis. I actually talk about that in one of my videos recently, how to do a horizontal grow. I need to make a dedicated video on how to do a horizontal grow. Yeah, I'm still on drip system Goliath. Yeah, it's the easiest way to grow. In the bedroom right now, we're just feeding that one by hand, though. Let's see here. Any recommends on pH soil testing kits? Honestly, the best way to test soil pH, in my opinion, is just take a little bit of the soil and then put it into like a cup and then pour some water in it. Like let's say you know what your water, test your water first. Find out what the pH of your water is and the ppms first. Write those numbers down. And then you want to put some of your soil into a cup and pour some water in there, swish it around really, really good, let it sit for a little while, and then strain that into a shot glass and then test the pH. That'll give you a good, and then you just see the difference between the water you put into it and then what it changes it to. And that'll give you a good idea of your soil, what's going on. Harvest tips, how long do I dry, wet, dry gems? So all that, Michael, is on my website. So just go to this website and then go to free grow course. Putting it right now, perfectsunled.com. Go to the free grow course, and it's the last 2 videos. It's all about how to dry and cure and get the best dry cure off your plants. It's something I learned from my grandfather, and he's been growing for many, many years out of Humboldt, California. So when transplanting cocoa, can I water every day still, or should I let it dry out? No, don't let it dry out. Water every day. Just don't water with that much at first. When you first transplant, actually it depends. If it already has a root system, yeah, just water to run off. If it doesn't have a good root system yet, then like for the first 10 days, just water with a little bit of water, enough to keep the rock wool or whatever it's in the area around it moist. And then don't you want to let it all dry out, obviously. And then once it has a root system, water to run off. Trying to catch up to you guys. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind here. Yeah, Goliath Grower, have you looked at my on my? I mean, you probably watched it, but my video on how I build my drip system. It tells you all the parts and stuff you need step by step how to build it. It's the newer video on the grow course. So Andrew Skull, what I do with all my cannabis, we smoke it, and what we can't smoke, we give away to family, which is legal in Oregon. You can give up to an ounce to a 21-year-old per day, legally. So if you lived here and you were 21 years or older, I can legally give you an ounce every day. Just give it to you. I can't get anything back from it though. That's why we just give it to family. Also, I like getting their feedback on different strains and stuff, so that helps too. Like give it away to family and friends and have them all smoke it and then give me like a smoke review on what they think of the strains and flavor and that kind of stuff. I get more than one recommendation or more than one opinion on what they think about it. That's how I'm able to kind of figure out what strains are the best as far as how they smoke. Your dog just farted. Thank you for letting us know that. That was very vital information that we needed to know. So yield records I've set. I know at least 3 that I've set. Obviously the biggest autoflower ever still. I'm surprised no one's broke that yet, but that was a really freak of nature at like 2.8 pounds dry. And then that was a critical by Royal Queen Seeds. And then the Northern Lights is I think it's still the second biggest autoflower, at least that I've seen a record for, at 14.8 ounces. So that's 2 world records right there as the biggest autoflower. If anything, it's definitely the biggest Northern Lights by Royal Queen Seeds for sure. And then I also have the biggest yielding, what was that strain called? Dark Devil, I think it was called. I can't remember. What's the seed company that does that? Let me check real quick. I think it's Auto Dark Devil. Really, really exotic strain. Not very good though. It's okay. Looks really cool, but not like the best smoke in the world. But it's good. There's like 3 different phenotypes, and one of them comes out really nice by Sweet Seeds. Very, very low yielding strain. Most people that grow that strain don't get very much out of it at all. But I have the record for it at over 4 ounces that I know of. I don't think anyone's beat that yet. There's a whole dedicated grow thread to it on 420 magazine, and to my knowledge, no one's beat that yet. Okay, sorry. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. That's stupid. I'm just trying to answer your question. So I don't know how to predict the weight on the carnival, Danny, because I don't have anything to base it off of. I've never grown that strain before, so I have no idea what its bud structure is like, how it grows, whether can it handle 20 tops before does it have a max amount of tops before? Because some strains have a max amount of tops you can get, and then they start getting smaller. Some strains have no max. You can have 50 tops, and they'll all be nice, big, fat soda cans. So I don't know anything about that strain to try to predict it right now. Let's see here. Sorry, trying to catch up to you guys. Let's see here. Oh, almost caught up. Cool. Oh, cool. So yeah, so you know how to build the drip system then, Goliath Grow. It's really easy. It's really inexpensive and easy to do, and it makes life so much easier. Trust me, it makes life very easy. Can you recommend an LED light for 3x3? Yeah, Perfect Sun Cob or Dwarf Star, depending on whether or not you want to really max that area out or not. Also, when should you start to lollipop? I like to do it about after the plant has been about 2 feet tall. If you can, try to do it before you go into flower. Personally, I like to do it right before or after you've already switched to 12-12. So yeah, you can wait till 5 days after you switch to 12-12 is fine. You just don't want to lollipop like when the plant is like really into flower. I like doing it right before flower. That's why I just do it with the carnival. I lollipopped it right before flower. I lollipop it and then I let it heal for about 3 days, and then I throw it into flower. What's cool about lollipopping it when it's still in veg, right before you're about to flower, is you can tell if it stressed the plant out. Because if it starts slowing down how much water it's drinking, or it slows down its growth at all, then you know it stressed it out. You can wait till it gets back to drinking how much it was, and then flip it to flower. That way you know that there's no stress at all. So when it goes into flower, it's full force, gonna fucking just grow, grow, grow. I actually don't like drip emitters. They all clog no matter which ones you get. So I stopped using them. I just use the straight 1/4-inch tubing, just straight right to. I water right with the 1/4-inch tubing. Just put a T connection on it, or you just straight tubing. That's how I do it. One hose, 1 tube per plant. And as long as you water every day to runoff, it keeps it nice and moist. But if you want to build a drip ring, how to do it is take your 1/4-inch tubing, put a T connection like this right here. That goes off to your main line, and that makes the tube, right? Then you want to cut it in 4 places and put T connections on those. So you have 4 holes that are straight 1/4-inch tubing holes because they're the 1/4-inch T connectors. And then if you want, you can put a little 1-inch segment of tubing on top of those, and then put another T section on those, which makes 8 holes. It just makes it water around more evenly. And you can do that if you want to. It's not necessary though, in all honesty. I use 1 tube per plant, just 1 single tube, 1/4-inch tubing. And as long as it waters to runoff every day, the cocoa acts like a sponge. So if you water on this side, it's going to soak up all the rest. But if you let the cocoa dry out, it won't do that. But as long as the cocoa stays moist and you're watering enough to run off, it acts like a sponge. If you take a damp sponge, not a dry sponge, take a damp sponge and water just this side of the sponge, it soaks up into the whole sponge, right? Same thing happens with cocoa. But to make it, if you want to make it a little bit more safer for yourself to make sure it gets even watering, and you can build the drip system or the drip ring. So I use a 1200 gallon per hour pump. I think that's what it is. You want to make sure your pump is strong. I think mine's a 1,200 gallon per hour pump. You want a nice strong pump. Are you running 1/4 inch tube? No. To hempy buckets, you can just water by hand every day. But if I were to do hempy, looks like my connection isn't as good right now. Like the quality of the stream looks like it's not as good on the video. But if you're going to do the hempy bucket with drip system, yeah, it'll work great. It makes sure you don't have to water by hand every day, which is awesome. Just make sure you have it to where you only water with enough to get that reservoir replenished. That's all you want to do. If you water with more than that, you're wasting nutrients. But if you water by hand, like if I do a hempy bucket in the room, we water that by hand, just like we're watering that plant by hand. The carnival right now, the photoperiod is being watered by hand every day because I don't want to build a pump system just for one plant. Let's see here. Yeah, I encourage everyone, like, come for the record, man. I want someone to beat it, because if someone beats it, that's gonna make me have to want to beat it, right? I'll be like, oh, now I got to beat that record. I honestly don't know if anyone's gonna beat that 2.8 pounds. That was insane. You're gonna have to get a freak of nature plant, I think, to do that, because autoflowers just typically don't get that big. So even that 4.8 ounces, that's a big plant for autoflower. That's huge. I use ProMix potting soil. I mean, I know a lot of people that use ProMix. It works. So if you're a soil grower, it works. I highly recommend organics. If you're going to do a soil, you should do organics, because what's the point of soil then? Like, there's no benefit of soil if you're not going to go organics. Personally, that's what I think. So I would use all organic nutrients and stuff if you're going to grow in soil. I recommend if you're going to do soil, I recommend doing a high brick system. Look into it. I've seen some excellent grows using that system, or Dr. Bricks, I think is what he calls it. I've never done it myself, but I know the basic. I do something similar with organics, and it gives a similar result. You want to really push the sugars in your leaves, and that works really good. It gets really super frosty plants, like it's crazy good. I have active aquas right now. Sorry, I'm reading your thing. So as far as the brand of pump, I just buy whatever the grow shop has. I can't remember what brand I have right now, but it's been lasting me like at least 2 years now. And that thing's awesome. So I can't remember what brand it is though. I think I bought it at Wilco. It was a fountain pump I bought at Wilco. I think that's where I bought it at. And I'm pretty sure it was either a 1,200 gallon or 1,300 gallon per hour pump. Not much difference between those two anyway. Once you get above 1,200, you're pretty strong. It might even be a 650. I'm not sure, 1650. I'm pretty sure it's like a 12 or 1,300. But it was whatever brand Wilco had. It was made for water fountains. It wasn't a cheap pump made for growers. It was actually made to pump water into a big fountain, like an outdoor fountain. And it just happened to have the right connections for the 3/4 inch tubing to come off of it. That's all you need. All you need is a pump that allows you to connect a 3/4 inch tubing on it. I like the one that has the bottom suction, so that way you can lower your res down pretty low with the pump. You can also use a more expensive pump that has 2 hoses. So one hose goes and pumps the water up into it, and the other one pumps the water out. You can use something like that. Those are a lot more expensive though. So I have my own system when I grow with organics with soil, but it's similar to the Doc's. I think it's Doc's Bricks or something. He's on 420 magazine. Let me see here. Oh, it's BRIXX. Dr. Bricks. If you want to look into a really good organic system of growing, it's some of the best plants I've ever seen as far as the amount of frost on them and just how the quality they look like. Look up this. So check that out. And I think if you like growing like that, you'll like it. It's just a lot more involved than like Coco said. And also it's a slower system. Nothing beats hydro as far. If you want big, rigorous, fast plants that rock, that have just as good of quality, that's why I do my system, because that's what it does. A rough average for auto 70 grams. Yeah, it's about, that would be, let me do the math real quick on my phone, because I don't know what that is off the top of my head. 2.5 ounces. I think that's for your average grower. You got to keep in mind that that's including beginners, but for your average grower that's been growing a couple times, that's about right. When I first started growing autoflowers, my very first couple grows, that's about what I was getting, about 2 to 3 ounces per plant. I remember the first autoflower I ever grew was White Widow by Dynafem. White Widow, I think that's how it is. And that was the very first one I ever grew. And I got about 2.5 ounces or so, 2 to 3 ounces off of that one. No, it's not illegal. It depends where you live, Angus. My channel is specifically only for people that can grow legally. So if you live in any state in the United States that grows legally, like Oregon, where I'm from, or you're from California, or you're from many of the other, I can't remember how many states now have medical marijuana, or if you're from Canada, Canada is completely legal now. So if you're from a legal place, then that's who I'm talking to. If you're not in a legal place, then you shouldn't be watching the video. I'm not sure how many places. I don't know if there's any place in UK besides is what's that? Where you have the Amsterdam? Is that in UK? And I can't remember if that's part of the UK or not. I think it is. And I know it's legal there. I think there's some places in Spain it might be medically legal, because I know Spain does grows. They have the Spaniard cup, so I'm not sure. I never really looked into the legalization over there, but you should know your own laws. But anyway, yeah, the White Widow. But after about, I don't know, after about a year of growing, I started pulling like 4 ounces off of my autoflowers. Same strains. When I first started growing Dutch Passions, Think Different, I was getting like 3 ounces off of it. And then after like a year or two, I started getting like 3 to 4 ounces off of it. I was stuck there for a long time until I started watering my cocoa every day. Once I pretty much came up with my grow system, that's when I went from 4 to 5 ounces a plant up to 8 to 10 ounces a plant on a pretty regular, as long as I had a high yielding strain. So it was I literally doubled my weight by just following my system. So it's a huge difference. My wife now is following my system, and you can see the results she's getting out there. It's just actually excellent. Okay, let's see here. Stupid question. Measuring temp. This is, are you serious? So above my plant is around 86 to 88 Fahrenheit. That's too high. But ambient temp is 80. Wow, you must have a light that puts out a lot of heat. That's really a big swing from 80. 80. That's not too big, actually. Never mind. That's not too bad of a swing. I recommend pulling your room temperatures down to 75 if you can, because you want the temp at the top of your plants to be about 80, ideally. So if at all possible, if you can get your ambient room temperatures down to 75, then at the surface of the plant, you should be about 81 or so, to maybe 81 to 83, something like that. That'll be better. Always just watered. I'm growing a White Widow crosses with the regular strain. 68 to Fahrenheit. Okay, water temperature to water. Oh, are you asking, Anthony, are you asking what temperature should the water be when you water? I personally leave mine at room temperature. So my drum stays right in the grow room, and I just water that's how it waters. So the temperature of that water, I think, is usually a lot lower than the ambient temperature. One, I have the AC right next to it, so the AC blows on my drum every time it turns on. But I never actually tested the temperature. I know I used to test it a long time ago. I don't bother with it anymore, but I think it's right around, like, my ambient temperature is like 78, and I think that's like 75. So watering with room temperature is fine. It's no problem. But you can water with cold water too. Sometimes I water like straight out of the hose, which is super cold in the wintertime. That's like below 60. So I've watered with water below 60. I think it's kind of a shock to the roots. I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but it didn't really hinder the grow at all. So yeah, the room temperature, like, I like to keep my room between 70 and 80. That's the ideal window. I don't like to go below 70, or I don't like to go below 68. If I can, ideally, I don't like to go below 70. And I don't like to go above 80. That's the ideal range. That's with LED. With HPS, I don't like to go above 78, or even maybe if I can keep it 75, that's even better for HPS, because HPS puts a lot of heat onto the top of your canopy. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to put AC, I mean, honestly, AC isn't that much extra electricity. In all honesty, it only turns on here and there. Especially if you have a closed system. If you have an open system, it's kind of pointless to do. But if you use a closed system, AC is the best. I think it's the only way to work. The only way to go with the closed system. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, your plant should be fine. You're not that high at the top surface, so it's not going to I don't think it's going to hurt your grow too much. You might get 5% less yields or something. No, 80 is perfect. Like 80 at the top surface of your for ambient room temperature, I don't like going above 75, even with LEDs. But the top surface of your plant should be right around 80. That's ideal. What's my opinion on guerrilla growing? I don't have one because it's illegal. I'm not going to give my opinion on something that's illegal because that's not intelligent to do, especially on a public forum like YouTube. Now, if we were in person, I might have something to say about it. Let's see here. Thanks, Bud, and thanks for vids. No problem. Do you put anything in your res to keep it clean, or do you leave it alone? Sometimes I'll drop bleach into it. And to me, it doesn't matter because I don't use microbials because I found them pretty useless. Unless you're doing a soil grow, an organic soil grow where you're really focusing on a bunch of microbials, they're pretty useless. And so in cocoa, microbials really don't serve any purpose because you're watering and flushing every single day. I've tried it off and on, and I realize it's not. I've done side-by-side tests with it, and it doesn't make any difference. So I don't use it anymore. So I don't care if I kill everything in my cocoa because I want to kill everything in my cocoa. A lot of people don't think you can grow with bleach. They go, oh my God, bleach, that's crazy. I thought so too when I first tried it. I was like, oh, I'm going to kill my plants. This is so crazy. But then I started doing some research. Most commercial growers that do any sort of growing use bleach in their water. Most every commercial grower. Well, they might use chlorine because it's actually cheaper than bleach, but it's the same idea. And so it works great. And anyway, so that's what I like to do. You can also use the 30% or whatever it is, 36% peroxide. This is a lot more expensive, and it only adds a little bit of oxygen to the water. So you get a little extra oxygen, but that's not really that beneficial. So with bleach, we actually used bleach not too long ago. I usually use a pretty low amount of it. So when in my 50-gallon drum, we filled up to about 25 gallons, about halfway, and we put in, I think it was, what did we put in there? I want to say it was a tablespoon per 25 gallons, not that much. You can actually go with a lot more than that. I typically do about, I think 8 milliliters per gallon. You can get away with pretty easily. I don't do it that often. When I used to do deep water culture, I used to do a lot of like the higher maximum amount of it. I just can't remember how much that was right now. It's been a lot of years, but yeah, look it up online on deep water culture on how much they put per gallon. But I know I get away with 8 milliliters per gallon very easily without harming the plants at all. But my reservoir, I just clean it every now and again, like every 2 months, every month. Once you start getting slime on the inside of the walls, just drain, water until the pump has pretty much depleted all the water in there, and then take a wet vac and vacuum with the rest, and then just take a towel, a little bit of bleach water or just soap and water, and just clean all the inside take the pumps out, clean them really good, put everything back together, and you're good to go. Yeah, I think Great White is, I don't know. Personally, I think it's a waste of money. I don't believe in a lot of the hype from a lot of these products. I've tried it, and it didn't work any better than just using a good organic system with cheap microbes. All you need is some probiotics and some good microbes. It works great. Like Dr. Earth, for example. Just use Dr. Earth, their liquid feeding and their powder feeding together, That one has probiotics, a lot of probiotics. The other one has a lot of microbes, and that's everything you need right there. Like honestly, that's really good for organic growing. It's all you won't need anything else except for maybe a little bit of Epsom salts. And it works. It works awesome. Like it's some of the best stuff out there, in my opinion. uh, fish shit. No, I have not. But there is. I have tried the Alaskan. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Alaskan. They usually sell it at Walmart and stuff. It smells like fish, dead fish. It smells gross, but it works pretty good. So let me catch up real quick here. Blah, blah. Okay, I watered cold water in the plants for so sad shock the roots, I think. Yeah, I mean, it depends how cold the water is. It can shock the plant. If it's a nice, healthy plant, like that already has a really big root system, I've watered with below 60 temperature and it was fine. It handled it just fine. But that's not ideal. You don't want to do that. It's better to let the water get to room temperature. Or if you have to, water it right away. Just go into your bathtub and add some hot water to your hose water so it warms it up. If you're using RO water, then adding a little bit of warm water from your hoses or from your bathtub is going to be fine. Or if you're really worried about that, you can always just let it sit in room temperature for a while. Every time I dry my, let me go and show that through. For some reason, it didn't come through, Russell. Every time I dry my buds, no matter what, they end up a kind of hay smell. I used to get that a lot until I started drying and curing properly. So I highly recommend going to my website, perfectsunled.com, and then clicking on the free grow course. On the bottom of the free grow course, there's a bunch of videos in a vertical order. At the bottom of that list is 2 videos on how to cure and dry your marijuana. If you follow that method, I guarantee you, as long as you grew the weed right and you follow that method right, your shit it's going to be the best it's going to smell as best as it possibly can. Oh, that painting right there. It's actually really cool painting. I actually did that myself and designed it and everything. Try and get where you can see it. It's one of my part of my symbolism collection. Like each painting in my symbolism collection has multiple meanings to it that you can interpret from it. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to catch it back up again. Does adding molasses to water have any benefits? No, it doesn't. Personally, you can just add sugar if you want. I've done that for years because I thought it was making a difference. And then I did some serious side-by-side grows, and I couldn't notice any difference. It might slightly alter the flavor of your marijuana, making it have a slightly more sweeter, like I guess a little more sweeter flavor to it. But I think that might all be in my head. So what I mean by test is blind study. So giving somebody two of the exact same strain from the exact same mother, two clones from the exact same mother, one fed no sugar, one fed sugar, and then cure them both. Everything's the same, and then give them to different people. Don't tell them which one's which. Don't tell them anything about it. Just, hey, what do these taste like? And then they smoke it. They have no idea what they're smoking or why they're smoking it. You just want to know what does it taste like. No one notices, oh, this one's a little bit sweeter. So I think it's all psychosomatic, personally. So I've noticed no difference in it. It doesn't help anything at all. So I stopped using it. I even have videos on here where I was still claiming it worked, but I was wrong. It doesn't. Yeah, I don't believe anything. Anyone that claims 20% yield increase is full of shit. No product is going to increase your yields by 20%. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. If you're already using good nutrients like Psychoflower, there's no product out there that's going to give you anything better except for something like that's medically probably not the best thing to use. Something like Mendocino Avalanche. It's actually still legal for some reason. That will make your buds denser. It's actually a bud denser. It's all kinds of crazy chemicals, like the opposite of organic. You want to make sure that shit's not in your plant when you smoke it. So you want to use it as directed and get it out of your plant. You don't want to be smoking that shit. You don't want to get cancer. Anything that says causes cancer, I don't recommend using it personally, obviously. Like it says right there on the label, known to cause cancer. Don't use things that say, warning, this is known to cause cancer. I just don't recommend growing with that shit. But that's the only thing I can say that will give you bigger yields. Not 20% though. Deep water culture will give you bigger yields, but any sort of hydroponic will give you bigger yields. Just keep that in mind. So my system is a hydroponic grow system. So I do get bigger yields than if I were to grow in soil. Like yeah, definitely. But that's the only reason why. Like aquaponics is going to give you the same benefit as if you grow with my system, or you grow deep water culture, or you grow with hempy buckets, or you grow with recirculating deep water culture, or you grow with a NF, whatever it's called, where you have the flood table and it fills it up and then drains back out and recirculates the nutrients. Anything like this, that's hydroponics, is going to give you bigger yields. That's a known fact. Like, and I can prove that. Like, I can do 2 clones from the same mother, one in organic soil and one with a hydro method, whether it's my coco hydro method or hempy bucket or deep water culture, whatever method, and this plant will be bigger than this plant, guaranteed. It'll grow faster and it'll get bigger. That's one of the reasons why I grow with my system, because I get bigger yields with it, and it's super easy to grow with. So yeah, when you mentioned the for some reason when I saw the word you typed in before, I was thinking aquaponics. I wasn't thinking of the fish tank thing. I've never grown that way before, but I know it's just another form of hydroponics. I was thinking of a different system. A different kind of system using pure water. I don't know about 25% increase with CO2. When I grow with CO2 versus not CO2, I do get an increase in yield, but it's not 25%. Most of these claims are bullshit and untested, unverified claims. I like Mammoth P. I did use it for a little bit. I do like Mammoth P. I can't say for sure that it's going to give you a bigger yield if you're already using my system, because my system already gives you really big yields. But I definitely want to do more experiments with Mammoth P. I can't say for sure that it does nothing. Let's see here. I don't like the light that's right in front of me. My eyes are very sensitive to light, so I'm not going to take my glasses off right now. I'm not a piehead. I actually don't smoke marijuana, just so you know. Do I recommend topping a photoperiod? You can, yeah, there's no problem with it. If you're going for like a particular kind of structure, that's the only reason why I would top a plant, because you can easily predict the exact kind of structure you want out of the plant with your specific training method. But if you're not doing it for a specific training method, then I would just take the top when it's young and just bend it over. Just bend the whole plant over and tie it down, and that will all grow up, and then bend the other side down, and then just like bull train basically. Yeah, definitely in cocoa, I recommend adding CalMag, because it tends to suck up a lot of phosphorus, which makes it harder for it to access the CalMag in it. It also binds calcium to the cocoa. So yeah, I use like 2 to 3 milliliters of CalMag per gallon. Yeah, actually, if you just every time you go into your grow room, as long as it's a closed system, just you being in there for an hour raises your ppms up super high. Yeah, Mammoth P is expensive. Mammoth P is definitely expensive, and I haven't seen anything like when I grew with it. I didn't really notice any difference. So, but I would need to do more side by side studies. But the fact that I didn't notice anything different shows me that it's not worth the money, in my opinion. You would need like at least a 5% increase in yield in order to justify the price. No, plants produce oxygen. So plants, the roots need oxygen, but as far as I know, I don't think the root system produces any CO2. I don't think the plant it might produce a little bit of CO2, but mostly it produces oxygen. That's the main thing plants do. So they take in the CO2 and they produce oxygen. That's why you want a lot of plants in your house. We have a lot of plants all around us. Have a lot of plants in your house, you'll have a higher oxygen level in your house. Makes it healthier to live in. I haven't tried photosynthesis plus, but a lot of that stuff is just repackaged. Like when you do like research into exactly what it is, a lot of it's just repackaged stuff with different names. One thing that people like to do is take advantage of anyone, and the grow community is no different. So just keep in mind, most companies are here to rip the grow community off by selling you a bunch of bullshit. Like for example, I had this company email me and say, "Hey, do you want to sponsor our product?" I'm like, I will only give an honest review. That I'm not buyable. So if you want me to review your product, I'm going to give it an honest review. So yeah, if you want to send it to me, I'll review it. They end up sending it to me. I decided not to review it just because I don't want to be a dickhead. But at the same time, I'm like, well, should I let this company get away with it? Basically, what they sent me was a black canister about this big, not very big at all, with just Epsom salts in it, and it's called Grow Enhancer. And they claim, oh, it's going to make your plants healthier and bigger. And yeah, Epsom salts are very healthy, and it's a old trick known for many years, especially among like tomato growers or just natural gardeners in general. It works really good in plants. I like using Epsom salts. It's basically magnesium sulfite, and so that's exactly what Epsom salts is, magnesium sulfite. And the ratio of magnesium sulfite on this canister was identical to Epsom salts. It looked identical to Epsom salts. That's what it is. So they package Epsom salts, call it a bud enhancer, and they sell it for like $35. I'm like, are you kidding? I can go to Walmart and buy Epsom salts right now for like $5, and they're selling it for $35. That's the kind of bullshit these companies do. It's just stupid, and people buy it because they're dumb. Well, they're not. People aren't dumb necessarily. They're just gullible, and they don't do research. They're lazy, and so they're like, oh, cool. They're gullible. That's what it is. They hear the hype. They hear the commercial. They read the commercial, whatever, and they buy into it. And they're like, oh, this is fantastic. And the main damage this does is among new growers, because a new grower, he's only done a couple grows, right? So he's not that good of a grower yet. He's still learning. So he does a couple grows, they come out okay. He goes and buys one of these products, let's say Terpinator, right? His third grow, he uses Terpinator, gets a bigger yield, and thinks it's because of the Terpinator and not because it's his third fucking grow. Of course your third grow is gonna be better than your second grow because you're getting better and better each grow. It wasn't the Terpinator, that did nothing. Stupid. So the people that need to test these products out are good growers that get stable yields every single grow. We're not getting better and better anymore. We've already maxed out our potential. Now it's just a matter of fine tuning stuff. And once we're at that level, then we can test products out because we know exactly what we're going to get off our strain. We go, this strain always gives me 3 pounds, period, perlite. That's what it does under this grow system. Let's add Terpinator, still 3 pounds. That shit doesn't work. And that's the truth. It doesn't. I actually had other friends try it too. It doesn't do anything at all. All it does is waste your money. It's really good at that. Terpinator wastes your money. Anyway, so that's my review of Terpinator. Let's see here. Well, the problem is, Anthony, is you can't always be like, for example, my main grow tent is in the garage. So the CO2 that I'm producing right now doesn't go to my garage. And so I need to have CO2 in my tent. And that's why I have the CO2 tank. Honestly, I have a 20-pound CO2 tank. It's like $17 to refill it. All you do is take it to the grow room or the grow shop. You give them the tank. They give you a new full tank. You take it home. You screw it back in. Really easy, right? It lasts me like 2 months. So $17 every 2 months, totally worth it. To get a much bigger yield, yeah, totally worth it. That's not that much money, not that much work either. Let's see here. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up to you guys here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see here. I haven't tried Bud Factor X now. Like I said, a lot of that stuff is just the same chemicals repackaged though. There hasn't really been anything new in the market in a long time. Pretty much everything in the market is just re-product stuff with a new sales pitch. Same chemicals, new sales pitch. Actually, I never did a full all canna coco nutrient line grow. I've used their PK booster, but I never actually used their A and B. I know it's a good nutrient though, because I know people that grow with it, and it's a good nutrient. I just never grew with it yet myself. Pretty much anything that is a nice balanced nutrient is a good nutrient to grow with. What's your opinion on using mushroom bags for CO2? They don't work worth shit. So a while ago, I actually had a company want to sponsor me with that product. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to give an honest review. So just so you know that. And I tried it and I put it in my grow room. So I had my CO2 meter on, tell me the ppms of the CO2 in the room. I put the bag in there right above the CO2 meter, literally right above it, and came back like an hour later, no different. The CO2 was exactly the same. So then I took the CO2 meter, made sure I wasn't breathing on it, because just breathing next to it will make the CO2 go up, because I produce a lot of CO2. So I put the bag where the little hole is, falling right on top of the meter itself. No change whatsoever. So yeah, just go into your grow room once a day and breathe for like 15 minutes. That's all you have to do. That's gonna be more beneficial than any of those products. There is products that basically use something similar to baking soda vinegar mix, and they have a special pressurized cap on it that releases the CO2 slowly. They might last, each charge might last you 2 weeks. Those will bring the CO2 up, but the problem is that you're going to spend more money on the refills, way more money on the refills than you will on CO2 tanks, like a lot more. And also, you can just brew wine. You don't have to drink it. You just throw it away if you want to. Just get a nice, a slow yeast. You don't want a super, super fast yeast. You want a yeast that will last at least a week in your grow room. And the grow room is already warm. And so that makes the yeast activate much faster. So just get like a champagne yeast or something, or just a wine yeast, or even beer yeast if you want to, and then add sugar to it. Basically just make wine. And then what you do is you'll have your 5-gallon container brewing your wine. I used to do this actually. And then have the nipple top with the 1/4-inch tubing coming off of the top of it. So that's where the CO2 is coming out of. Put that in the back of your fan, and that will blow the CO2 over your plants. It actually works really good. The problem is you have to make a new brew like every week, but it'll get you drunk. So there's that. And if you get good at it, you can actually make pretty good tasting wine. So, or pretty good tasting beer, whatever you prefer. So you get free alcohol, plus you get CO2 to your plants. And then you can distill it with a water distiller. You can actually buy a water distiller for like $100 or less, and then distill it 7 times and get like really strong distilled alcohol. You can actually make moonshine out of it, and that shit will fuck you up. It's hard to make really good tasting strong alcohol though. I found that to be very difficult, but you can make a pretty smooth alcohol if you filter it right and everything. But honestly, just the wine by itself to me tastes a lot better, or just homemade beer when you get good at it. So one place you can go for seeds that I've heard about, and that's the company. Also, just go to 420magazine.com and go to their sponsor page. And on their sponsor page, they have a bunch of seed companies you can check out. They only sponsor seed companies that work. If they don't work and they are problematic, they remove them. So really quickly about don't believe the hype. All you need is a good A and B nutrient, CalMag Plus, maybe Epsom salts. That's all you need to grow. You don't need anything else, honestly. They need a good environment. That's more, your environment is more important than anything else. Good environment. I have a whole video on that on my free grow course on my website. That's a video course. And then I don't ask for anything in return. It's just free. There's no sign up, no nothing. Just watch it. I don't try to get your email, nothing like that. And then good lighting, obviously. That's part of your environment. But yeah, follow the grow exactly, my grow course exactly, and you'll get good results. That's all you need, honestly. You don't need anything else. see here. Hey, what do you think about growing hydroponic and coco coir for good quality and yield? That's what I do. Sorry, I just sometimes I forget that new people come in, but yeah, that's how I grow. So my grow method is coco, and it's obviously a hydro medium, so I treat it like that. Water every day to run off. I use a drip system. If you want to learn my system, like I said, it's all free. Just go to my website, either one of my websites. The link's in the description of all my videos. You can also just go here. I'll just type it. You go to that website, go to free grow course, and I have my whole system on how I grow with coco. Guaranteed to work. My wife is now using it for the first time ever, and you can see the plants are awesome. Actually, the Colorado cookies is pretty much done. I can harvest it today if I wanted to. Hey, no problem, Sticky Fingers. Thanks for coming by. So Epsom salts is something that you don't have to use. It's optional, but you only want to use like a teaspoon per 5 gallons of water. That's really all you need. And you can use it from the start if you want to. I obviously want to wait till the plant's developed a little bit. So wait till it has good roots on it for a good 10 days or so. So after like 2 weeks, you can start using Epsom salts here and there. It just it makes the plant have an easier time uptaking everything. It's an old school trick for gardening. Works fantastic. You can also just put like a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on how big your pot is. If it's a smaller pot like this big, you put like a teaspoon and just sprinkle on the top of the coco, and then as you water, it'll slowly water it in. Or you can, if you have a bigger pot like this, you can put like a tablespoon. I know people that buy from GYO seeds, John. That's how I have to answer your question. And it's also sponsored by 420 Magazine. They only sponsor seed companies that actually work. Yeah, I used to use General Hydroponics and coco for a long time. It's an okay nutrient. It's not the best, but it works. It has kind of a high salt buildup ratio. So, but my drip system now doesn't matter because my drip system now is a 1/4-inch drip system. So I can run 4 Nova through that shit if I wanted to, but it clogs up your pumps faster. So that's why I like cycle flower nutrients. It doesn't clog up your pumps nearly as fast. Yeah, the problem is a lot of people I know when they use these different companies, they maybe they have to wait too long, so they give a negative review because they had to wait 2 weeks. But that's common with any seed company. Unless they're local, they're in like the same area you are, you're going to be waiting for a while. So that's just normal, not a big deal. Just know it can take up to 2 weeks to get your stuff, and all of them offer a well, not all of them, but a lot of them offer a guaranteed delivery. So they actually track the package, and if that package doesn't get to you, they send you another one. Like if it gets cut by customs, for example, and then they send you another one. And if you ever order seeds and your seeds don't get to you, and you get a little thing in the mail saying, "Hey, we have a package waiting for you at customs," don't go pick it up. It's gone. Don't worry about it. Just don't ever pick it up. Nothing will happen to you. Just don't go pick it up. And if they ever ask you, "Did you order this?" Say, "No, I did not order that. Someone else must have ordered that, into my house or something. I didn't order that." But that never really happens. But if it ever does, that's what you say. Okay. Do I have a video? Yeah, I have a video. On my grow course, it goes through everything you need to know, how to water, all that kind of stuff. And at one of the videos is how to build my drip system and how to use it. All the parts you need, stuff like that. There you go, making wine and growing weed. Yeah, I actually made some really good wine back in the day. Like I got pretty good at it. I started figuring out what yeast works better, and time frames and all that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of a fun little art, like what grapes to use and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But the cheap way is just sugar, yeast, water, and maybe an enhancer, and that's it. Some vitamins, and that's all you need. And that's going to give you a nice, just bland kind of. You can drink it; it's not bad. You can mix it with a little bit of Kool-Aid or something. It's not very strong. But what you can do with that is, like I said, you can distill it a couple times and get nice hard alcohol. But it always has a weird flavor to it. It's hard to get really good. It's hard to get good at making hard alcohol to make it where it tastes good. It's really a science. But I found if you filter it through like a water filter that you use for like a home water filter system, like the kind that are like a tray, you just pour it on there and it just filters right through. You filter that stuff a couple times, it actually tastes a lot smoother. But yeah, making the wine is pretty, it's good, tastes good. And there's different things you can use too. You can try making wine using like grapes and cranberries, or using grapes and a little bit of orange peels or something, or using grapes and blueberries. You know, get different flavors. And if you ever want to try something really interesting, is make mead. Mead is one of my favorite alcohols of all time. So mead is wine, but instead of using sugar, you use honey. So try that sometime. Look up a mead recipe, a mead brewing recipe. It uses honey. It's really good. Yeah, it's hard to make a great wine. You know, like those guys have been doing that shit for years. You know, the wineries, so they're really good at it. But you can make one that's better than the cheap ass shit on the shelf. You know, so it's at least better. It's at least better than the fucking shit you drink. It gives you instant headache. You know, that like very cheap store bought stuff that you're like, how is that so cheap? And you drink it, and you're like, oh, that's why it's cheap, because your head like instantly hurts and it tastes like shit. Yeah, you can make a wash, and wash is good to good to turn into hard alcohol. One thing I never did try was agave, how they make a tequila, how they make tequila, but it's really expensive. But it'd be interesting to try, like try to make your own tequila using agave and as your sugar base. All right, so I'm at like 2 hours and 21 minutes. So I think I've ran the questions down now, so that's good. I managed to answer everyone's questions, I think. So that's good. I'll leave a little bit more time. Just let you guys know I'm getting ready to head off. I'm just getting a little more time for people to ask a couple more questions if they want to. And then I'll be heading off of here. I'm trying to think of what can I close out with? Something cool. Let's see here. Oh, okay. High yielding auto strains. I'll end with this. End with something cool. So high yielding auto strains that don't compromise too much on quality. Think Different and Think Big by Dutch Passion. Very big yielding strains that don't compromise on quality too much. My favorite auto strain, Colorado Cookies by Dutch Passion. It is bomb. It is grade A, top shelf awesomeness. Another big yielding strain is Critical by Royal Queen Seeds. Also, their Northern Lights by Royal Queen Seeds, a big yielding strain. Both are pretty good quality. Other big yielding strains I've grown that are like reliably big yield strains, not just like once in a while. Every single time you can do it. Buddha Seeds, their Auto Magnum and their Auto Syrup. They're both pretty decent strains, and they produce big every single time. And it's good to have, to try different stuff. But my go-to strain, if I can only grow one strain for the rest of my life, it would be Colorado Cookies, Auto Colorado Cookies. I'll type Auto by Dutch Passion. If I had to grow one strain for the rest of my life, that would be the strain I grew, because it has everything that you want in a strain. The only complaint I have about it is that there's two phenotypes, but almost every strain has that. One is a taller one, and the other one's a shorter one. Most of them are short strains, so it's fine. They're not a super tall strain, which I like about it. The other negative I would say is it's really bushy, like it has a lot of leaves on it. But that's not a big deal. You can just pick some of the leaves off, and it's fine. So that's, but any indica is gonna be very leafy. You're gonna have a lot of leaves. It's indica based, so any Afghan indica is gonna have a lot of leaves versus sativa, which has a lot of smaller leaves. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so double peace, guys. Thanks for coming, and I'll try to do these more often. If you guys like it, if I get a lot of comments saying, "Dude, do more live shows, please," then I'll try to do more live shows. By Dutch Passion. Type it again. Dutch Passion. Well, I'm not better, but um, I'm not as bad, so that's good. All right, so seriously, all right, double piece, guys, for real, going off this time. Yeah, definitely am feeling a little bit better. That's good.